Memorial Day weekend, we remember our men and women of the military who serve and have served in our great country. This is NASCAR's longest race of the season. It will end up happening with Tony Stewart and Joe Gibbs Racing.
Oh, I'm glad
Tony,
you asked.
Come on, give us some
Let me
insight.
tell you, I believe Tony will move. I believe it's going to cost somebody a little bit of money, and it might just be him. But I believe that Haas deal is too good for him to turn down. I believe he'll work out something with Gibbs. I think the bigger question is they got two cars over there. Who's going to drive the second car? Junior wants to move to Cup. Could be Keselowski. Okay. There's some free agents out there. It could be Martin Truex.
All right. So. Bottom line, he thinks Tony is on the move.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let's hear it for Darryl Worley as well as the F-15s out of Langley Air Force Base. Let's also hear a big round of applause for the Celtic Force Mass Pipe Band for their performance of Amazing Grace, along with a 21-gun salute by the 18th Fire Brigade from Fort Bragg, and caps performed by Specialist James D. Stein of the 82nd Air Force Division of Fort Bragg.
Let's get a race started.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
On a Memorial Day weekend, we'll remember and never forget and honor those who have served and fallen for our country as we get ready to go race.
100-mile race. Kyle Busch has won 3 poles in the last week here. The All-Star race, the trucks, and for tonight's race, he shares that front row with Casey Kane, Brian Vickers, and Greg Biffle line up in row number 2.
Let's see if we can get a hold of Casey Kane here. Casey Kane, DW, you got a copy, buddy?
Hang on a second, Casey. Darryl's trying to talk to you up in the tower.
Hey, Casey Kane, it's DW. You got a copy, buddy?
Hey, I got you, Darryl.
Hey, man, that thing looked awesome the other night. You got $1 million in the bank. 2 years ago here, you won everything that you could win. Are you back?
I sure hope so. I think, you know, we had some good practices again the last couple days, so hopefully the Budweiser Dodge will be here in 4 or 5 hours. That's when we want to have a shot late in the race.
What's your attitude like tonight, buddy? I mean, are you ready to get up on the wheel? It's going to be a long grind. Are you ready to go?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely ready. That win last week, I think, got myself and everybody on this whole Gillette Everdam team really pumped up and ready to, you know, run better than what we had the rest of the year. We're looking forward to it.
All right, man. Hammer down, and we'll keep an eye on you.
All right, thank you.
Making a great race night with the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Just turn that cap left and enjoy Budweiser, a great American lager.
Let's take a look at the race keys for this 400-lap, 600-mile race tonight. It's going to last about 4.5 hours. Make it to sundown. They're going to have their hands full while this racetrack has not very much grip and the sunlight is just beaming down on it. It'll get faster, a lot more grip on into the evening time. Keeping up with the ever-changing track. Even if your car is leading laps and running up front, these crew chiefs know they will have to make major changes as the track goes through the transition. Track position in the closing lap. I think that's a product of this new car. We saw it last week in the All-Star race. You better be out front if you want to stay out front at the end.
And Larry, that's what I like about a crew chief. It'll sit on top of those big pit boxes, look at all those monitors, have all those engineers there, and do something besides give me 4 tires.
We won't take that tonight. You better do something different.
Let's get late stories from pit road, beginning with Steve Burns.
Thank you, Mike. Casey Kane won last week. Kyle Busch won last night. Still the sport's hottest driver. In final practice yesterday for this race, he was wicked loose by his own standards, but they'll be much better later in this race, or so they think, Chris Devoda.
Well, Greg Biffle qualified well, but he could have been even better. There was a white trash bag in turn 1. He had to change his line. He turned in a little harder than planned. He said he doesn't think it matters where he starts. His car is that good. And he said, quote, "It was so fast, unbelievably fast. We have the car that can win this race." Matt?
Jimmy Johnson couldn't pick a better place or race to continue his push in the points. He climbed 1 spot at Darlington, now up to 6. Now, one thing about this racetrack, he's won 3 of the last 5 Coca Cola World 600s, so he and Chad Knaus probably one of, if not the best, of staying ahead of a racetrack as it changes, and their racing resume shows it. Look at all the races that they've won in their career that started in the daylight and ended at night. To Dick Berger.
This 600-mile race suits 49-year-old Mark Martin just right. The veteran knows how to handle his race car, so he will be around at the end. He has won here 14 times, won in 3 different kinds of race cars. Could be Mark Martin's night. He starts well in the 7th position.
Thanks, folks. A stellar field. 11 Sprint Cup championships, 11 Daytona 500 victories, 7 Formula One wins. Yes, they're all Juan Montoya's. And 2 Indianapolis 500 victories represented in this field.
Doesn't get much better than that. This is a big field of cars tonight. 43 of these guys going head-to-head.
5 drivers making their first 600 start.
Now, we're going to break our race down into 4 segments. This is segment 1 here. This is from now to about 6:30. The track has 79 degrees, no grip. Trouble spot, turn 2, getting into 3. You better have some adjustments like we see right there to do in the first part of this race. DW, in honor of all of our men and women and boys and girls overseas fighting for our freedom where we can feel safe, 400 laps, 600 miles, reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing on Memorial Day, boys.
All you got to do is wave a green flag in front of that 18 car, and he is gone.
He picked up right where he left off last week in the All-Star race before he had engine problems. But we see Casey Kane in that 9 car get that run on the high side just like we saw in the All-Star race.
The way Kyle Busch came to the flag, he had a little stutter there. And when he heard Casey Kane lift, he managed it and took off. Snookered him just a little. Kane in 2nd, Biffle 3rd, Vickers 4th, Earnhardt 5th, Reagan 6th.
I think one thing different about tonight than what we saw last week, though, he extended that lead last week. I'm not so sure there's not some cats back here who are going to get after him tonight. Talking about Kyle Busch and probably that 16 car, Greg Biffle. Great race car.
I was going to say, you better keep an eye on Greg Biffle in that 16. Finished 2nd in the All-Star race. Watching the 2 practices yesterday, I think he could be the car to contend tonight.
If he hadn't blown up at Darlington, I believe he'd have won Darlington. That car was really, really bad fast, and he's chasing down Kyle now.
Single file through the first dozen or so positions.
Mike, this is the most difficult part of the whole night is getting through these first 10, 15 laps because the track's been laying here in the hot sun. She is slick right now, and boy, you got to hang on for dear life.
Vickers goes after Casey Kane for third. Gets it. Here comes Junior on the inside.
Tell you what, I think that 83 car tonight, Vickers, I mean, he loves this joint. Wouldn't surprise me to see him have a big night either, Larry. His car really looked good in practice. Ran good last week.
But you're right. It's a racetrack he has always liked. He's always ran well with.
You know what I like about this race? You can really tell your driver, we'll get them later. Because there's not a lot of races where you got a lot of time to play around. Tonight, yeah, we can get them later.
Two drivers working hard and well in the high group. Jimmy Johnson just moved around Mark Martin. That was for 8th place. And Sam Hornish. There's Sam way up on the outside in turn 4, right where he was in the All-Star race. Also doing a good job moving forward. He's up to 17.
Had a great car here last night. Ran up front most of the evening, but then got in trouble off turn 2 over there and put it in the fence. Out once, saved it, came in, got tires, went out and put it in the fence. So he's looking for a better night tonight.
And, you know, he needs a good night because after Darlington, he fell out of the top 35 in owner points. He had to qualify on time. He can get back in the top 35. He'd go to Dover with that little bit of cushion locked in.
Hornish, 77, chasing Denny Hamlin. Let's get to the front of the pack and leader Kyle Busch. Steve Byrne.
Well, Mike, you guys mentioned that Kyle Busch led for a while in the All-Star race before experiencing an engine program. I talked to engine specialist Mark Cronquist today for Joe Gibbs Racing. They experimented last week. Not today, not for 600 miles. Cronquist said they're running the package that they've been running with success all season.
But that was a learning experience for those guys last week. They know now they can make that much power. It may be next year before we see that package. They'll want to make sure they can make it live. They know they can make it now.
Well, and I think that's the difference in this 18 car tonight and last week. Last week, he drove off. He never slowed down, just went away and left everybody. Tonight, as you can see, he doesn't have that big horsepower advantage tonight. It's all going to be about Hamlin.
Losing that engine in the All-Star race might have cost Joe Gibbs Racing $1 million. But if they end up winning a championship from what they've learned, $1 million won't seem like so much.
You got to try it somewhere, and it's a perfect race, no points.
Tony Stewart in 20th. Looking back at Reed Sorensen and Robbie Gordon.
But, Mike, he's moved up quite a bit in just 8 laps because he started back in the 31st position. As we watched that final practice last night, that car probably ran more laps than anyone, and it was all long runs. They were happy with the car.
6th place. Here comes David Reagan, who has been one of the bright lights of this entire 2008 season. He's driving car number 6 for Jack Roush, working on Casey Kane.
And Mike, he too last night had a great run in the nationwide race, and this kid just continues to impress with his maturity, and it just happened all at once.
You know, as we see that 48 car right there of Jimmy Johnson, one thing that I did find out about that car in the garage is when I talked to Chad Knaus, and he said, Larry, we finally yesterday, we had to just take some speed out of this car to make it drive better for Jimmy. We feel like that will prevail, where speed was a big deal last week. Getting it to drive good this week is the thing.
I heard Mark Martin say the same thing. He said last week his car wasn't comfortable, and he didn't want it that way tonight. You've got to have a car. You've got to be out here for 4.5 hours. It better be comfortable to ride in and drive.
Kyle Busch has led every one of the 10 laps so far in the Coca Cola 16 laps so far. Brian Vickers has moved into 2nd, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. just displaced. Greg Biffle has the 3rd place car.
Hey, Digger's down in there digging. You know, Larry, one thing I'm seeing with, let's say, Dale Jr., let's say, he's kind of playing around. One time he'll run real high on one end of the racetrack, low on the other. There's sun's still shining brightly in 3 and 4. A little shade down here in 1 and 2. So he's trying to get to where the most grip is. Looks like it could be low in 1 and 2 and high in 3 and 4.
You know, something that will promote that is, especially when he's kind of in clean air right now, he's not really racing anyone, he'll be looking for lap times from Tony Eury Jr. as crew chief, plus the spotter up top will give him feedback about what other cars are doing and if they're making up any ground.
The biggest challenge with that 88 car, and we got the 07 here of Clint Boyer in the pits, and looks like they may be...
I believe they had something on the grill.
Having a heating problem, yeah. I think the biggest challenge for the 88 car, and we got a battle here. That's for 4th, Kurt Busch, Kyle's older brother.
But, you know, we've been watching this 48 car, and if there's a car that seems to run comparable lap times to the leader, Kyle Busch, Matt, it seems like it's Jimmy Johnson, the 48.
Running the middle right now, just climbed up to the 5th position, and that was one thing that Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson were hoping to work on, make some big gains, was the disparity between the top and the bottom of the racetrack, because Jimmy was good down in turns 1 and 2, but not good on the bottom, trying to get that car to run a little better all over the racetrack versus just the high side.
And that's kind of the compromise that you have to do right now. Find where the grip is, where your car runs pretty good, and know that you're going to tune her up for maybe running on the bottom later on. But I just want to follow up on the 88 car. Their biggest challenge in my mind, and it's every week almost, keeping that car good all night. If they can stay on top of the car and the track and make the right adjustments, obviously he's got a fast car.
And I think they possibly learned with 25 laps to go, probably 4 tires is not the way to go.
I think I would. See, Junior, he's sitting in there. He's so comfortable. And that's the look you want your driver to have right now. He's going to be out there for 400 laps, 600 miles. You can see he looks very comfortable in that car. And watch that. See that arm, how it lays on that wheel? That's how you just kind of save a little energy and keep yourself getting all tensed up. You rest on the steering wheel right there.
Steve Burns with more.
Yeah, Mike, just to elaborate on what Darrell Walsh was talking about, I talked to Tony Urey Jr., the crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I said, you guys have been in position to win. He said, you're right, we have, but we have got to work on sealing the deal, learning how to close a win out, DW.
Thanks, Steve. Sam Hornish has been into the wall. He's been running that high line up the racetrack, and he just ran out of racetrack while battling Tony Stewart.
Well, I'd like to say that would, I don't mean I'd like to say, normally I'd say that would cause him a problem, but we've seen this car slide off the wall. That's just a little scrub right there. This car doesn't affect this car at all.
He just buffed it a little.
Yeah, it will not even know the difference. Remember, that happened to him in the All-Star race. He went down a lap or 2, came back to finish 7th.
Now, what of Greg Biffle? Biffle ran the first 10 laps of this race in 2nd position, but now the number 16 has slipped back to 6th place. Krista?
That's right, Mike. Slipped back, and right now they're a little perplexed. On lap 3, Greg was complaining of his car being just a little bit tight. That was not really a concern, but in the last few laps, he said his car has been getting very loose in, and then plowing. Right now, it's a big question mark for the 16.
And you know, guys, when I drove this track yesterday in our NASCAR on Fox car, that's the one thing that really got my attention was how loose these cars are into the turn, but then how tight they are off the turn. That's a real challenge for these guys.
And it's going to be a challenge for the crew chief and the engineers trying to adjust that out. You want to make it turn better center off, but you can't make it looser getting in the corner, vice versa.
Riding with Jeff Burton in 8th place. Kyle Busch has led every one of 25 laps so far in the Coca Cola 600 on Fox. Kyle Busch has had his hands full with Brian Vickers. Vickers has been getting close. And as those two scrap it out for the lead, Kurt Busch has been closing in.
Well, the traffic, though, is really kind of playing havoc with this whole thing right now. See, right behind these guys, the 48 and the 88, they're going at each other pretty hard, but these lap cars keep getting in the way.
Yeah, now that we're 31 laps into this race, definitely our leader, Kyle Busch, is starting to get into some of the lap traffic. Just to follow up on Clint Boyer, the 07 car, the reason he came to pit road, they were overheating. He's now a lap down, as well as Johnny Sauter, Patrick Compartier, and Kyle Petty.
People were complaining last week there wasn't any passing in the All-Star race. I said, oh, there'll be a lot of passing tonight. These fast guys are going to find some guys to pass, I guarantee you, but they're going to be slower than they are.
Vickers looks for the cross-under move. He's not close enough to pull it against Kyle Busch, the race leader. The 23-year-old from Las Vegas, Nevada, who has been running rampant over NASCAR in qualifying and has some wins to boot in the truck, in the Nationwide Series, and here in Sprint Cup.
Here goes that 83. He got that big run off of turn 2 up high. Got the momentum down the back.
He may squeeze up in front of that 18 this time. He's not going to quite. That's about as close as it gets. And that's tough for the spotter to call because they're coming directly at the spotter.
You just saw irresistible force move immovable objects.
I'd like to say that, that Kyle let him in, but I know better than that.
Back to Kyle Busch's pit. Steve.
Could be problems for Kyle Busch, Mike. Kyle just came over the radio and said we're having ignition problems or something. The engine is sputtering. Steve Attic to the crew chief as we speak saying check your voltage. So could be a problem for Kyle Busch early in.
Well, as he came off more, we saw some big flames out the tailpipes that you wouldn't see when he's hard on the gas like that.
That tells me he swapped ignitions right at that point. It made the fire, when he went from one to the other, it kind of backfired out the tailpipe. But the other thing is,
they're down as well.
But, I mean, while that's going on with this 18 car, look at these cars stacking up behind him. We're riding with Jimmy Johnson, goes to the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to take the position away from Kurt Busch in the 2 car.
He may come all the way to second here. Steve for an update.
Mike, listening to Kyle Busch, he thinks it's an alternator problem. He says the volts are down to 12.
And what that's going to mean, he will have to start cutting some of the stuff off, mainly things that are comfort for him. That's the first thing you have to cut off.
yeah, that cool box with the carbon monoxide filter in it. But let me tell you something. He might think he's got a problem because I don't think he's been passed very much this year. So he might just be imagining a problem. Whoa, and look at his brother get up under him. Whoa. You know that 2 car is licking his chops. I'm finally going to get up here and get after my little brother.
As we watch Kurt Busch in the 2 car, remember, finished second in the Daytona 500. He has not even had a top 10 finish since that finish in the opening race.
Dick Berggren.
Kurt Busch started in the 8th position, Mike, and has steadily worked his way forward. He had gotten as far as the 3rd spot when suddenly he hit the radio and told the crew that the car had gotten tight. In about 12 laps, he is going to make a pit stop, and they're going to try to take that tight out of there. He's got a good car tonight.
Tell you, a car that I've been watching as we've been watching this battle here, a guy that he always is a factor in the 600-mile race. Jeff Burton in the 31 car, he started back in the 14th position. 38 laps, he has now worked his way well into the top 10. Just a few laps ago went by David Reagan in the 6th. He's now up in the 6th spot.
Kyle Busch led the first 33 laps before giving way to Brian Vickers. Last year, Vickers led 76 of the 400 laps and finished 5th. Brian Vickers continues to lead. The new face in the top 5 is Jeff Burton in 5th, as Kyle Busch has fallen back. But Jimmy Johnson wants the lead from Vickers. Had a chance at it. Came up on lap traffic. Michael Waltrip in the 55.
Mike, just note right now, here we are, 39 laps, 40 laps in this race. Lap speed's at 32.0. And later on in the evening, we'll see what they get down to. They'll be in the 29s before the night's over with.
We went caution-free, and we are getting into that 8 to 12 lap window that these guys will be forced to come to pit road for adjustments, tires, and Sunoco race fuel.
Kurt Busch drawing ever closer to the lead in that blue deuce. His car owner, Roger Penske, had a decent day up at Indianapolis, but no Borg Warner trophy this year.
I don't know. You might ask Danica about that. I'm not sure she would be happy, but unfortunately what happened to them coming out of the pit.
Someone has lost a spring rubber right there by Digger's little hole. It's something that's put in a spring as we got a battle for the lead. No longer a battle. Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car goes by Vickers in 83. We've been talking about him. There comes Kurt Busch in the 2 car.
This is the 13th consecutive race at Lowe's Motor Speedway where Jimmy Johnson's Hendrick Chevrolet has led at least a lap. 13 in a row.
In every category over here, as far as performance goes, Jimmy Johnson's name is at the top of the chart. Laps led, races won, you name it.
He's not getting away from Kurt Busch, though.
You know, Kurt Busch in that 2 car, we talked a lot about...
What you're doing right here, you got a good run through the middle of 3 and 4.
We've talked a lot about Matt Kenseth as well as Kurt Busch, 2 of our past champions. They are going to have to get going here if they want to make this chase here in about 14 races.
And that's such good information, Mike. Whatever you're doing, you're getting a good run through 3 and 4 because the driver can say, wow, it's funny, I let off early that time and really got a better lap. It's good information.
Green flag pit stops have begun. Johnny Sauter is in, and Robbie Gordon makes a stop a bit early.
Robbie Gordon had actually worked his way well up into the top 20 with this 7 car.
Outside pole sitter Casey Kane on pit road as well.
If you notice, it looks like the Dodges, in particular Dodges with Gillette Evernham. Here comes Elliott Sadler making the green flag stop first.
3, 2, 1, right here. Casey Kane is in the call. No adjustments for his race car right now, just tires and fuel. He's been dragging the balance, but he said his car is not turning as bad as it's driving.
Regan Smith, Juan Montoya, Paul Menard, and Jeff Burton pits out of 5th place. Patrick Carpentier in. Here's Steve.
And Mike, listening to Jeff Burton, who had worked his way up, Burton saying that the 31 car had gotten loose in the turn. See the work, the right side of your screen, 4 tires for Jeff Burton. They're going to try and tighten him up, Mike.
Denny Hamlin, Kyle Petty is in. Kevin Harvick, J.J. Yaley comes down the pit lane.
Comes Brian Vickers in the 83 car.
Bobby Labonte, Travis Kvapil, Scott Riggs, Matt Kenseth, Matt Yoakum.
Vickers, who finished 5th in this event 1 year ago. They pulled the right side tires off. You can see all the brake dust that falls out. Track bar adjustment already completed. He was complaining the car was on the tight side, especially in traffic.
Ruderman, Blaney, Truex, Tony Stewart's in.
Boy, Jimmy Johnson, that 48 car, he locked her down getting down the pit road.
Dick.
And Kurt Busch dragged the left front wheel about 40 feet in getting into his pit stall, but he did a nice job stopping where he did. Matt.
And the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson in. Service already complete on the right side. Jimmy was looking ahead to the next section of the night. He says the car is tight, but he doesn't expect the car to be as loose at the beginning of this run, Steve.
Matt Dale Earnhardt Jr. in. His car has gone to the front side. They'll try to loosen the 88 up. Meanwhile, to the left, you see Kyle Busch. His car has gone from loose to tight. Track bar adjustment for Kyle Busch. No further word on his alternator problem. That seems to have stabilized.
Last year's winner, Casey Mears, gets 4 tires and fuel. David Reagan in front of Matt.
Reagan has cycled into the lead. This young man continues to impress week in, week out with veterans Ricky Jimmy Big. No chassis adjustment for the 6 of Reagan's service complete.
David Reagan actually led a lap and got 5 points before coming to pit road. Remember, he comes in here 12th in the points.
Freed Sorensen, one of the drivers trying to get the double, Memorial Day weekend double for owner Chip Ganassi. Mark Martin's in, Kenny Schrader, Sterling Marlin. As we wind up this first round of green flag pit stops, Jimmy Johnson comes back to the lead. Or actually comes to the lead for the first time today.
I tell you, I've been watching these guys get on pit road, Larry. They're making it, but some of them just barely. Just barely. That 07 just about spun out getting on pit road.
Here's another look at it.
I mean, he's out in the track. He's locked up. He's sliding.
Because by the time you get to that yellow line with that cone, you have to be at 45 miles per hour.
Jimmy Johnson out in front for what actually is the 2nd time today. He surrendered the lead for 2 laps to David Reagan when he made his pit stop. Aerial coverage today provided by Goodyear. For track-tested technology, get there on Goodyear Innovation. Tonight, somebody will ride into victory lane on Goodyear Racing Eagles. Jimmy Johnson is the leader. Now, this is after green flag pit stops. Things have shaken up a bit. Dale Earnhardt Jr. almost 2 seconds back, as is Brian Vickers, Kurt Busch, and Jeff Burton, the top 5. Robbie Gordon has banged off the wall, and that'll be our first caution of the day.
He has been flirting with it. He has been flirting with it big time in 3 and 4 for a while. He was running in the 18th position, and you can just see got up high, almost where there wasn't any black up there. As you can see, it's still gray up in that area.
You know, Robbie just seems to jump the cushion everywhere we go.
We don't have a cushion.
Oh, well, he jumped whatever that thing is that holds you from hitting the wall.
Now, Jimmy Johnson had just lapped Paul Menard, so Menard will get the free pass, being the first car one lap down. He will get his lap back under this caution.
That was a big break for some guys like Ryan Newman, Tony Stewart, Regan Smith, Reed Sorensen, Casey Mears, Montoya Allmendinger. All those guys, they were in danger of going a lap down here pretty quickly.
And I tell you, the biggest story there is Sorensen, because he waited to be the last driver to pit, hoping to draw a caution before he made his pit stop. That didn't happen. But this caution flag is a big break. It evens up that strategy.
The 16 car, too. I noticed that the adjustments they made on their pit stop, he was really coming back. He gets that distance he lost early back now.
Now, Mike, even though everyone, they've been to pit road under green a few laps ago to change 4 tires, I think from what we've learned, you'll see them come to pit road, but I think you'll see a lot of 2-tire stops here because this track position is more important than 4 fresh tires.
Most of the lead cars coming. First to Dick Berggren.
Hey, Kurt Busch, Larry, Vic Reynolds is going to take a no-tire stop. They're going to put fuel in this thing only, obviously, watching those nationwide race nights. Where tires weren't all that important. Matt.
Slight track bar adjustment for Jimmy Johnson. They topped him off with local race fuel. He's already away. That is the 83 of Vickers, Steve.
Matt, gas only for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Just gas. Krista.
Gas only for Greg Biffle and a slight wedge adjustment.
Tell you what, a mighty close call for Jeff Burton. Boy, he was coming out. Robbie Gordon going in like they've been big.
4 tires for Kevin Harvick, 2 for Jeff Gordon, 76.5.
I told him I'm going to give one with a roof hatch, and he can come back and try it.
Or one of Michael's.
That's right.
Okay, it's about 6:30 p.m. Eastern time here. We're getting ready to go green. Here's segment 2, 6:30 to 7:30. Over the next hour, you can see in the shade, the track's about 7 degrees cooler. Starting to get a little grip, but now turn 2 still going to be the trouble spot. Maybe this is where we start playing around with the track bar a little bit, air pressure adjustment. We want to continue to learn for the end of this race what adjustments will work.
Ready for our clear to drive restart. Luke Claret clear. Hey, doors and out.
I'm going to wait a little bit longer before I make my adjustments. Still a wee bit early.
Little early.
Jimmy Johnson and Kurt Busch take off.
And J.J. Yaley in a 96 car spun the tires big time.
He did not take off. He about got run over. Look at that 2 car go down that back straightaway, Larry. We know they don't hurt for horsepower.
Oh, and I'd say the 18 is fixed, Darrell, because Kyle Busch is not that far back. He just steamed right around the outside of the pack to line up 4th.
I really think he might have just gotten off a little bit on his chassis settings there, and I think he'll come back nice here. Got 4 tires.
Well, Kurt Busch will get the 5 points for leading that lap. He has only led 1 lap since he led 9 laps in the Daytona 500.
You know, Larry, you know one thing that really benefited the 2, the 12, and the 77 was the test that they did over here. I think they really gained the most from that test.
Second place changes hands. Yikes. And now 3rd may as well. Dale Jr. and Kyle Busch heading back to the front.
I think we have seen this a lot this year with the 48 car. I think we saw it in the All-Star race. They can't get going on a restart. Then they come to life on into a run.
Like a car like that.
Jeff Hammond can tell us about the voltage concern that Kyle Busch had and what he could do about it.
Mike, what we're talking about, here's the alternator. When it's running, what it does, it puts power back in the battery, and that's where kind of like your storehouse is. If the alternator's gone out, what's going to happen? They're going to drain this battery down. Now, fortunately, for these cars, especially 18 and the 20, they run 2 batteries, but I don't think they can go the distance. It draws too much energy from the electronic ignition, and when you don't have really good power, the engine runs really rough. And what you have to do, you've got to cut off the cool box. This is air conditioning as far as the car is concerned. It draws a lot of power out of the battery. So right now, their biggest concern is, even though they've got 2 batteries, can they go the distance because of this? And I don't think they can, Steve.
No, Jeff, you're exactly right. And the absolute latest on that situation is we did check with the team. The engineers said they do run both batteries. However, both batteries are continuing to drain. Crew Chief Steve Addington trying to figure out why this is happening.
And just remember, this kid ran 300 miles last night. He does not need to be racing without his cool box. You know, he's already he's stretching it to the limit, trying to run 300 miles last night and 600 tonight.
I've been watching this wad right here. Tony Stewart in the 20. He's just mired right in the middle of this mess right now. Tony Stewart is back in the 26th position. Right now we have 31 cars on the lead lap.
Larry, he's going nowhere. As a matter of fact, he's had trouble just keeping up. He looks to me like he's falling all the way to the rear.
Well, the car in front of him to the right, Johnny Sauter. Sauter's kind of a moving chicane. He is in a backup car. His primary car is along with that of teammate Scott Riggs, impounded by NASCAR after irregularities found in the rear wing braces. Both those cars were taken, and they were forced into backup machines.
Yeah, well, Smoke's got something. I don't know. He's not going anywhere, I can tell you that.
The report we're getting, his car just will not turn whatsoever. He's having to get a double handful of steering wheel, and it just will not turn.
But we all know, in this 600, the nighttime is the right time, and you can fight with a car in the daytime as long as it's going to be good when it's dark.
Well, you're going to pick up grip later on in the evening. We know that, and that front end sliding around, that thing will start digging for him later on, hopefully.
Next Sunday, we head to Delaware for crab cakes and competition on the Monster Mile.
And don't forget concrete.
1 mile concrete speedway.
And don't forget Miles.
And a big concert. Emerson Drive plays Saturday night, and Miles the Monster will be there. So join us in Dover, either right here on Fox or visit their website for ticket info.
Tell you what, this battle for second is shaping up. Kyle Busch in the 18 car, he's been working the high side. Goes to the outside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 and 1 and 2. I think he'll take the position on the exit of turn 2.
Junebug getting real happy with, oh, no, it's not Kyle. It was Denny Hamlin. I'm sorry. Junebug's happy with Kyle now. I think
from last night.
Yeah, I was saying about last night.
Biggest mover since the restart, Ryan Newman from 38th to 17th. Carl Edwards from 30th to 14th. Jeff Burton has picked up a bunch, and so has Matt Kenseth.
I've been watching this one car of Martin Truex Jr. He started back in the 24th position. He's just been kind of nice and steady, getting the car every once in a while, and now he is looking toward the top 10. He's up in the 12th spot. Our winner from Dover a year ago.
Got his first Cup win at his home racetrack.
Now, there's one guy we have not talked about, and there is a reason we have not talked about him, because he has struggled really all weekend with a brand-new race car. Jeff Gordon in the 24 car, he is running in the 18th position, but Brian Vickers in the 83 car, he'll take that position away from Jeff Gordon's teammate, Jimmy Johnson.
And did you see what Jimmy did? He saw the run that Brian had off the 2 over there. He just dropped down on the straightaway and let him go back. Not trying to be racing yet.
There's Jeff Gordon's number 24, racing behind Montoya in 19th position. Krista?
And this 24 team has really been scratching their heads this year, especially on the mile-and-a-half tracks. I talked to Steve Letarte, the crew chief, this morning. He said early in the year when they had a 10th place car and a car no better, they would try to swing for the fence, and that's when they'd get in trouble. He told me this morning this car is probably only a 10th place car. So that's what they're going for. They did it a couple weeks ago in Darlington, and Jeff Gordon came home with a 3rd. So they said, again, they've got to know what they have underneath them until they get this mile-and-a-half with this new car and this new tire figured out.
Thanks, Krista. Up front, it's about to be a brother battle for first place. Kurt and Kyle Busch.
Ready to get bushwhacked.
And they have been playing around with where they're running their race car. You see Kurt Busch in the 2 for Bales on the high side. Now, Kurt has already led more laps tonight than he's led the entire 2008 season.
Kurt led over 1/4 of this race last year, but ended up 32nd after being involved in 2 accidents. Dick?
Well, Kurt's car has gotten loose on him, Mike, and as a result, his lap times are not as good as they had been. So he's watching his little brother, 7 years younger than he is, closing in on him as Kurt watches the rearview mirror.
Carol, I could almost see that car yawed out a little on the free side, especially right up in the middle of the corner.
Yeah, it seemed like that the Penske cars definitely have the most crabbing going on as they go down the straightaway, crabbing me in their yard out in the right.
Kurt and Kyle Busch in the front two spots. You're watching NASCAR on.
He looks like he's got a night, but look how high they're getting in this turn. Turn one particularly. I mean, they are skating right up next to that wall.
Now that changes third place, moves Vickers up to third. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had earlier passed Kyle Busch 4 seconds. So it's Kurt Busch, Earnhardt, Kyle Busch, and Vickers right now, Matt.
Mike, you look at just how this team has improved from a year ago at this time. Their only top 5 finish in 2007 came in this event when he finished 5th. Right now, Vickers was saying early in this run, in segment 2, as Larry Mack's documenting this hour, he said the car was too loose on entry. It was pretty good through the center, and he loved how it was loose on exit. If they can work on the loose on entry on their next stop, he really thinks they're going to have heck of a race car, and it looks pretty darn stout now running in third.
And that'll be that tightrope that Kevin Hamlin, his crew chief, walks, trying to fix that problem, but not fix one problem and create another. It's like sitting on top of a razor blade.
Right now, many of these drivers are just waiting for the shade that envelops turn 1, the front stretch in turn 4, to work its way over to turn 2 in that back straightaway. Still a hot, slippery racetrack. Well, at least half the way around.
At 40 laps, we were running in the low 32s. Right now, we're at 88 laps, and we're running in the low 31. So we've picked up almost a second in lap speed since this race started.
Now, ever since that last pit stop when they changed tires on this 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, it just doesn't seem like he's quite as good as he was that first run.
Matt, what about Jimmy?
Larry Mack touched on it perfectly, Mike, a little earlier when he said that basically at the beginning of a run, they seem to not be quite as good as they are from the middle to end. That's exactly what it's showing now. Back on lap 79, Jimmy said it was too loose entry, it was tight in the center and loose on exit, but he says now the looseness on entry is gone, and that's when you've seen this car really start to come to life. It'll be interesting to see how they progress from this point to the next stop.
Well, that's what I was talking about in the opening there, Mike, Larry, is how temperamental this car is. The drivers complain about the drivers really complain about this car all the time. It's never doing what they want it to, and that drives the crew chief crazy trying to make him happy.
Pat Triton, the crew chief for Kurt Busch. Right now, Kurt has about a 3/4 of a second lead over Dale Earnhardt Jr. This has got to be so rewarding for this group because they have struggled so much with this new car on the mile-and-a-half racetrack.
We spend 2 weeks here in Charlotte with the All-Star Race and the Coke 600, and a lot of special events happen during that time. One of them is very special. Kurt Busch, his wife Eva, have been great supporters of the Petty's Victory Junction Gang Camp up in Randleman, east of the Speedway, and made a big dedication and a big investment in that camp this week.
Finally, our grand opening of the Kurt Busch Superdome here at Victory Junction Gang Camp. A lot of hard work from my foundation and the great people behind me has led to this. To see the kids going and enjoying themselves. When I walk through the door, they're skipping, they're jumping, but most of all, they've forgotten about their illnesses.
Kurt Busch, one of many NASCAR drivers who have sponsored buildings or events or cabins at Victory Junction, and Victory Junction 2 in the planning stages right now. For more information, go to victoryjunction.org.
I love the way that Kyle has embraced all the drivers and got them involved in the project, and how the drivers have just really responded to helping Kyle with his passion at camp.
The good news is Jeff Gordon is battling Tony Stewart back there in the 20 car. The bad news is it's for 19th position right now, and they are within about 10 seconds of going down a lap to leader Kurt Busch.
Got 2 words for them, Larry. Hurry, sundown.
Yeah, they are definitely, you know, that's what they're wanting to do, Mike.
Right.
They're wanting to stay on the lead lap because they know this track is going to continue to go through those transitions that we've talked about. But they've got work to do on those 2 race cars.
I know what they're thinking. See any debris anywhere?
Ways back to leader Kurt Busch and Brian Vickers, Dale Jr., Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, the front 5.
I'd rather have it that way, you know, tight in. That way you're turning to the left, getting in. You can play with that throttle a little bit and get her up off the corner. So that's not a bad situation there.
Yeah, you don't mind driving it in the corner at 190 miles per hour with a little tug on that steering wheel, but you don't want the back end coming around on you.
Can't be turning right, getting in the corner at 190 mile an hour.
There's the shade down into turn number 1. And, yeah, Jimmy's picked up a little bit of a tear-off piece of plastic down there on the splitter. Not sure that...
I don't think it's a bad idea to pull that.
Now, there's two things that can do. Obviously, as we saw with Clint Boyer in the 07, at the beginning of the race, it'll start overheating. But the other thing, it changes the balance of the car. This will make the car loose getting in because it's almost like putting tape up there that puts more downforce or pressure on the front end.
Up front, Brian Vickers in the Toyota has caught Kurt Busch.
Man, he caught him. You know, Kurt had a pretty nice lead. Wonder if these lap cars have held him up a little bit. Because he was out there pretty far on Brian Vickers a lap ago.
Yeah, right now, Brian Vickers, of course, Kurt Busch and the two starting to fight some traffic, but Brian Vickers is about 4 to 5 tenths of a second a lap faster than leader Kurt Busch.
Look at how he's chopped down the interval.
You reckon it's because that 88 is about on his back bumper? Because that 88's pretty good, too, right now.
Front 3 cars all in close proximity as Kurt Busch leads. We crossed through 100 laps. Nearly 5,000 U.S. troops are on hand here as we salute our nation, soldiers and sailors and airmen, past and present. For more information, go to americasupportsyou.mil. We're happy to have them here and on duty around the world. Dale Earnhardt Jr. passed Brian Vickers for second place. Vickers hanging tough. Junior makes it work.
And to me, and Darrell touched on this a while ago, my biggest question about this 88 car is can they keep up with this racetrack with the changes they need to? That's been their Achilles heel for so many races, Darrell.
Yeah, and part of that is Dale Jr. He's got to give them good feedback. He's got to keep talking to them.
Running out of brakes, so
Just like that.
boy, you got your brake fans on.
He's got to feed them information. That's how they keep up with the racetrack. If he quits telling them what he needs, then they're going to get behind.
Yep. And you can't wait to right before a pit stop.
Steve?
Yeah, Mike, the info he just said Tony Eury Jr. was, my car is free getting in, tight in the center, it's just a little free off. That's just a few laps to go.
Thanks, Steve. A couple of ex-open wheelers got added a bit ago as Bobby Labonte makes the first of this round of green flag pit stops. Watch Tony Stewart in the 20 and Juan Montoya in the 42.
Montoya continued a little retaliation all the way down the back straightaway. That was about 4 or 5 laps ago. These guys battling for the 19th position right now.
One thing about Juan Pablo, he won't take any grief off anybody. You mess with him, he'll mess with you right back.
But you know, 106 laps into this run, that's not a bad run for Montoya considering he started 42nd. He's working with a new crew chief, Brian Patty. Jimmy Elledge parted ways with Ganassi Racing early this week. But here's the guy we better not take our eye off of. Carl Edwards in the 99 car. He didn't get a great qualifying run in. He started 30th, but Dick Berggren, he just cracked the top 10.
Yeah, he sure did, Larry. He's been passing cars all night. His practice was unimpressive as well. And when the night started, the car was tight, but they've worked on it. And a few laps ago, Carl Edwards told crew chief Bob Osborne that the car is real good now. I guess it is. His lap times are as good, if not better, on many laps than the leader.
And he is catching Dave Blaney, who's popped up into the top 10 in 9th, and that number 22.
But this is a good run for Dave Blaney. He qualified 11th. He's right there in the top 10. Remember, he came in here in the top 35 and on the points. I questioned their strategy yesterday. They made one short run in final practice. Tommy Baldwin said, you know what, I think we're good. Let's call it a day. It's paying off.
That one run, they were third quickest, so I guess that told them what they needed to do.
Is in, and so is Brian Vickers, who pits out of 3rd place. Matt.
Slides to a stop. Vickers made the call from the cockpit. He said he felt like something might be amiss with one of his tires. A little bit of debris hanging on the front grille. He said the car was tight right near the end of that run.
These are are green flag pit stops, the second round of the day. We've only had one caution flag so far. That came at lap 83. We're now at lap 115. Casey Kane is in. He was also one of the earliest to pit in the first round of stops. So is Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, just don't get real comfortable with all this green flag racing because this will change later on in the afternoon.
Elliott Sadler in as well. Krista?
The problem Casey Kane is having right now is that his car is bouncing real bad, especially in traffic. So they're going to make an adjustment on the left front. Packer going in that left front wheel well. That's the problem Casey Kane's having. The splitter also still dragging.
And what that Packer is, it's on a chassis stop. And it's just, they're just trying to settle the car down when the car travels, that it doesn't just sit there and bounce. It goes down and stays down.
And that can be as it could be as little as 50 to 100,000. Can make all the difference in the world. That's how temperamental these cars are. Here comes the 88 on pit road.
Travis Kvapil in, Kenny Schrader, and here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. Regan Smith also in. Steve?
Well, Mike, Dale Earnhardt Jr. says right now his car is neutral. And Tony Erie Jr. told me today that the adjustments they're going to make early in this race particularly will be small adjustments. They're afraid of jumping the fence with this car. So again, incremental changes in small amounts. Car on the neutral side for the 88.
Kyle Petty, Martin Truex, Denny Hamlin, Mark Martin on pit road. So is Ryan Newman and Scott Riggs. And here comes Jimmy Johnson.
Hey, Mike, the 88 car is in trouble down here in pit lane. Couldn't get the right front tire. The drop lug nuts, about half of them.
That's about 10 more seconds than what it should be. That's going to equate a lot, Matt, on the racetrack.
Absolutely, Larry Mack. Jimmy Johnson, his teammate, is now in. They were talking about possibly pulling a left rear spring rubber on this stop, just trying to stay ahead of this ever-changing racetrack. Let's go farther down pit road to Steve.
Mike, excuse me, Matt, Dave Blaney, the 22 car on pit road, having a good run, but see him hitting to the right side. He's saying his car has gone really tight. Meanwhile, Jeff Burton, the number 31, Burton leaves. He said his car was terrible. He's another one that wants that sun to go down quickly. Kyle Busch in the 18, he says, feels like the air pressures are too high. Matt.
It's David Reagan is in. Significant adjustment to this 6 car. Reagan complained the car had gone to the tight side at the end of this run. Dick.
Kurt Busch puts out of the lead. The car is loose here, tight there. They decided ultimately to change absolutely nothing. They're saying that the weather change, the sun going down, they think is responsible for the changes during the race. Fire on pit road.
Got a little bit of fuel
Fire
still.
on pit road. Not a big deal. They'll be fine. Nobody's hurt. Everybody's fine. Nice job by the safety crew there.
When you take off, if you hit one of those lug nuts that are laying there where you spin the tires on, there's a spark. A little fuel on the ground that'll ignite.
Real close call with Casey Mears going out. David Gilliland coming in. Chris Sabota, I think Greg Biffle just hit pit road.
That is correct, Larry Mack. Here comes Greg Biffle. He needs his car to turn better from the middle of the turns and off. The call for Greg Biffle and Greg Irwin and this team, 4 tires and a track bar adjustment.
Pretty close to the end of this round of green flag stops. Reed Sorensen comes in. He was the last of the lead lap cars to pit last time around as Patrick Carpentier goes out.
Now, Greg Biffle stayed out long enough that he got 5 points for leading a lap. He led that lap before he came to pit road.
Steve can update us on Kyle Busch's stop.
Mike, when he stopped, he said it felt like the air pressures were too high. He also said when I turned to the bottom, it feels like a little free. They did make air pressure adjustments for that number 18 for Kyle Busch.
And we felt like in this segment here from 6:30 to 7:30, that's something that these teams would start playing with is the air pressure and tire. And we're not talking about big adjustments. We're talking about half-pound, maybe 1-pound adjustments.
Well, right now, half of the racetrack's in shade. Turns 4 is in shade. Turn 1 is in shade. 2 and 3 are not.
Brian Vickers has now led 14 of 122 laps. Here's a look at the Kurt Busch stop.
Laps
in the Coca Cola 600 last season, 107th, and crashed to finish 32nd. As we get an AT&T race break in, Kurt Busch in the 2-car getting back in front of Brian Vickers, leading Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Greg Biffle running 5th, and there is your leader, 128 laps into the Coca Cola 600. Let's listen into Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the pit stop.
Bust the left front. Bust the left front off. Bust the left front off. Come on.
Jeff Hammond, 24.6 seconds on the pit stop. They lost
the right front right there. They had problems right there. A lot of brake dust. Knocked all the lug nuts off. And clearly, the guy on the right front was lost. He was looking for some help. His tire carrier had basically abandoned him. And you heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. telling the rear changer, get the left front off, guys. Get the left front off. Again, this total time that he lost here on pit road is exactly what the distance is. He's behind the leaders now. He lost almost 12 seconds as far as the total time. Now he finds himself back in 6th position, but more importantly, he's 13 seconds behind leader Kurt Busch.
About a half a lap. And Jeff, what are we learning? We've heard Larry and Darrell talk about when the sun goes down. What have we learned so far that'll help us for the rest of this race?
Well, you can see there's a lot of guys that have been struggling with chassis adjustments already. Their track temperature is 124 degrees. When it started the race, now it's dropped down to 108 degrees in the sun, and it's even cooler than that in the shade. And this is the kind of thing that the crew chief and the driver have got to keep up with. And so far, Pat Tryson and Kurt Busch have done a masterful job of keeping this 2-car, really at the front of the pack.
Greg Biffle said he was tight early, then loose. What causes this?
Real simple. The weather, as well as the different sets of tires they're putting on the car. Again, Larry and Darrell have been talking about it. As the night comes on, the guys that are a little bit freer will probably, their car will come in a little bit, but you still got to keep up with that race car as well as the track and make the right adjustments at the right time.
And here are the top 4 car numbers picked by our viewers to win today's race. You can watch our pre-race coverage each week to play along. That is an AT&T race break. Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Greg Biffle just had a big moment in turn 4. He nearly lost it. Now he's on the bottom in turn 3. I thought he might be headed to pit road, but he's carrying enough speed to stay on the racetrack. But that was a close one for Biffle.
But I'm not so sure that he's definitely not in trouble. And just go back to Darlington a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely had the car to win and had mechanical problems.
That's Biffle in the 16, just ahead of Casey Kane.
Yeah, there he complained about vibrating and loose wheels, and eventually the car fell out of the race with other problems. But here he said he got a flat.
You could see him signaling with his hand to let people like Casey Kane and I know, hey, I'm going to pit road this time.
4. We don't know what it is. 4.
Good call.
Krista?
Greg Biffle knew he had trouble on that turn. He wasn't sure if it was a loose wheel, which is a problem this team has had in the last couple of weeks, or a flat. You heard him say it's a flat. They're not sure where, so they're going to make a 4-tire change. They've got the crew in the wheel wells trying to make sure everything's fine. You see him working around here to the left side. Greg Biffle, this is detrimental, though. He has a fabulous race car up until now.
But he's going to lose a lap to the leader with this stop.
And Mike, the problem with losing that lap is right now we probably have 12 to 14 cars that are 1 lap down that will be fighting for that free pass to get back on the lead lap.
That is the bad news for Biffle. The not so bad news, 265 laps to go.
Long way to go. And the sun hadn't went down yet.
But the way the cars are all spread out around the racetrack, unless somebody has a problem with their own car, I don't see any cautions in sight.
There's leader Kurt Busch. Brian Vickers tracking him. Kurt's younger brother Kyle in 3rd. Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr. the top 5. And Junior's pit road miscue, even though it cost him 10 seconds, he is still the 5th place car.
Yeah, this is where I think Larry and I were just talking about is Tony Jr. has got to get Dale Jr. back focused. Don't let that bad pit stop take us out of our game plan. Get back up there on the wheel and catch back up.
And Jeff Hammond, you folks instruct pit crews all week long at your facility up in Mooresville. Do you drill them on what to do when something goes wrong, as happened to Dale Jr.'s team?
Yes, you do, Mike. And the key thing that I think that went wrong there, it should not have been Dale Earnhardt Jr. making that call. It should have been Tony Eury Jr. calling it. There was a lot of confusion watching it from the other side, a different angle. We saw the left rear tire guy like, do you want me to do this? Should we do this? There was a lot of confusion right there, and I really don't like the fact that the tire carrier abandoned the changer before he had an opportunity to get some work done. But right now, guys, we've got a challenge for the lead right now. On the bottom, Brian Vickers is making a run on Kurt Busch, and he's got it done. Yeah, it's no longer a challenge, Jeff. He takes the lead away here at lap 137, but Jeff is absolutely right. You know, Adam Emmerich, the front tire changer, there's nothing that tire carrier can do on the left front till his changer is done on the right front. Don't leave him sitting there with lug nuts on the ground. And the problem was the air wrench hung. There was a lug nut lodged in the socket. That was the problem.
I wonder if that'd be a product of the new rule where you've got to stay in contact with your tire as you go back, take it back to the pit wall.
I think it's the biggest thing mentally on that tire carrier's mind that he wants to get that done.
Now, Greg Biffle made an unscheduled pit stop. Krista, what did they find?
Well, they haven't answered out here. Greg had gotten on the radio. He said, guys, I don't think it was a flat. I think I lost a wheel. You've got all the crew members, Jack Roush himself down here inspecting the tires. Loose wheels have been a problem with this team. They've changed hardware this week on all their lug nuts, but the problem was a wheel weight. We're talking 3/4 of an ounce came off the right front.
I would say that's a relief that it was not a loose lug nut, because every Roush Fenway car at Darlington had lug nut issues being loose.
Yeah, and you just heard Krista say they changed hardware, so please don't let it be another loose wheel.
What do we do now?
You get your wheel balance off an ounce at 180 miles an hour, and you'll have a vibration.
Not a good one either.
Brian Vickers, your leader. 12 lead changes among 8 drivers. Brian Vickers, the first of 18 cars on the lead lap. We've only had one caution, and that was for a bit of debris as Robbie Gordon scraped the wall. Vickers is your Toyota top performer. Kyle Busch in 3rd. Dave Blaney in 9th, and Tony Stewart 14th. Let's get out of the leader's pit. Matt.
Brian Vickers was one of the first cars in that last cycle to hit pit road. His concern was over something amiss with the left side tires possibly going down. They were up, the pressures looked good, but one thing that did stand out was how flat the front wheels, especially the right front, was, because they are red wheels, but they were just chalked up with brake dust. Now, one thing also for Vickers, and Larry Mack has touched on it well throughout this broadcast, is the fact that as the sun continues to set, Vickers says his car is better and better where it is now, in the shade. He can't wait until the sun goes down completely. How long till that's going to be, Larry?
It's we're probably looking about another 45 minutes. We should see it about 8:30. Well, actually, it's about 7:15. That's Kevin Hamlin, his crew chief. Darrell was talking about him earlier. What a difference this Kevin Hamlin has made with this race team. But I think Matt was talking about the dust in the front wheels. I just think this car in general, even at a 1.5-mile racetrack, it has promoted a lot more brake usage than what we've had here before.
Kyle Busch just had a big slide through 3 and 4, and he may pit this next time by, we're told.
Yeah, that baby is crabbing, and it wasn't meant to be crabbing.
Yeah, I think he's suspecting that he might have a tire going down. Of course, we know Greg Biffle.
Here he comes. They're going to tighten him up a little bit, too. They're going to put the track bar down.
39 pit road.
3,900 RPM. Kyle Petty had just made an unscheduled pit stop and goes to 5 laps down. Here is Kyle Busch under green, making an unscheduled stop.
Yes, Steve, this is about 15 laps early for this 18 car.
Larry, they've really been debating whether or not to stop. Kyle Busch said, man, the car went funky on me all of a sudden. He said it's gone loose and tight. Steve Addington said, you be the judge. If we need to bring it in, let's bring it in. We still have a long way to go. We can catch up if we need to. So after about 5 laps, they finally came to pit road.
You know, one thing you were talking about brakes, and one thing that guys do with this car is what we call trail brake. in order to set the nose and hold the nose down to make the car turn better, they'll put a little brake to it. That's why we see so much brake dust with this car.
So Kyle Busch falls a lap down early, but a long way to go here in Charlotte. We talked with several drivers earlier this week about the difficulty of chasing the racetrack from daytime to night.
This racetrack changes more than any track we go to.
The track cools down. You know, this race starts about 5:30. You know, sun's still out. Been beating on the racetrack all day. The first run of the day, it's always the slickest. Initially, you won't make a change until the sun starts going down. You see what your car starts to do.
You know, that's what the challenge is all about, is just trying to stay up with the conditions.
Early in the racetrack, you want to be up front. You don't want to get in any trouble, but the nighttime is when you really want to go fast.
For a 600-mile race like this, it starts so early in the afternoon and then ends at night like it does. It's a big swing as far as balance-wise of how your car drives.
But at night, when the grip comes up, the speed comes up. When the speed comes up, that changes everything.
Naturally, the cars just pick up the second and a half in speed just on the track, cooling down. And once you start going into that new second bracket, it changes the loads, it changes the roll center, how effective the roll center is on the car, it changes aerodynamics. You've got a lot going on that you need to stay on top of.
The key for right now, staying on the lead lap, and right now only 16 cars are on the lead lap as Brian Vickers leads. But is there a concern there, Matt?
Mike, there is concern. Vickers just told his crew chief Kevin Hamlin 3 laps ago, there's something either wrong with the brakes or we have a loose wheel, because I definitely have a vibration.
Now, when you use a lot of brakes on a super speedway, you can warp the rotor, and that rotor gets warped from the extreme heat that you put into those brakes by using them so much. The instant hot and the instant cold, you'll warp up a rotor, and you'll think you got a problem.
You know, we talk about it so much about this 600-mile race, and it just seems like it's the nature of this race. We've already documented Kyle Busch in the 18 car having some alternator problems. Well, Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car, he just went in the top 10. We're getting a report from Chris Kubota that he is losing voltage, and he's had to cut off all of his fans to himself as well as to the tires and front brakes.
And we hear the 8 car out there running around. He's got a broken header pipe. And I don't know how long Mark can put up with that, because you get a lot of carbon monoxide when you got a broken header.
The right side tires that came off Kyle Busch's car were not going flat, but he said the car just went strange on him. He wanted a new set. Got him.
Could be that, you know, could be just that transition in the racetrack. Car's definitely going to change, just like we heard Jimmy Johnson say. Everything changes when the grip goes up.
156 laps complete, 2:44 to go at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Bottom of your screen.
Yeah, Darrell, something went down on that race car.
See the flames come out the right side of it, and then he hit the wall again down here in turns 1 and 2.
Dick?
Well, Kurt said it was the right front tire, Mike, and it's a bit strange because the car was very close to neutral. He was tight here a little bit, loose there a little bit, and they were trying to decide what adjustments to make on the next pit stop. There was no apparent problem, but earlier in the night he had 1 tire with a very small blister in it. That was it. They are a bit puzzled as to why that tire would have let go.
Yeah, we were within about 5 to 8 laps to what was going to be green flag stops, but a big break for Kyle Busch. He just got driven by Brian Vickers back on the lead lap, and Denny Hamlin just hung in there on the lead lap.
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear for track-tested technology. Get there on Goodyear Innovation.
One thing you noticed about that car, as hard as it hit the wall, the front tires still look pretty straight to me, so this car takes a pretty hard lick and keeps ticking.
Bit of flame under the car, looked to be from some of the tire debris from the right front. And pit road is open. A lot of comers, Matt.
Brian Vickers, he gives up the lead, making his way to his pit stall. He pulled up alongside 1 car. They told him, although the right front looked a little soft, it looked like his tires were up. You can see the tremendous brake dust come off his car. He was a little too free. Meanwhile, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson's too tight. Krista.
Casey Kane told me earlier you don't win the Coke 600 in the first 100 laps, but you can lose it by being stupid early. So far, so good. He's getting just a little bit tight. A half round up on the track bar. Steve?
Krista Dale Earnhardt Jr. peels off the pit road. He said I was bad getting in. No right rear grip. They took 1 pound of air out of the right rear tire.
and that'll get him back to 10 seconds he lost. You see Kyle Busch pitting with the leaders. That's because while we were in commercial, he passed Brian Vickers on the racetrack to get himself back on the lead lap. Under this caution, Kyle Petty, who's made a couple of pit stops and is going to be out of the cockpit the next 7 races or so as we continue to chase the racetrack.
And now this will be segment 3, 7:38:30. This is when we're going to go through a major transition because it's not going to be nighttime, but it's really going to start getting shade. This is where we're going to have to really start getting a little more aggressive with these adjustments.
Ready to go green with our third and clear to drive restart. Get third and clear. Get back to feeling like yourself again.
Got a little bit of an issue with the sun right now as you come into turn 3, right in the middle of 3 and 4, but it won't be there long.
We do need to mention Kurt Busch in the 2-car, because of the length of this caution, they continue to make repairs. He's still on the lead lap.
That car, I thought it was going to be hurt worse than it was. I don't think it's that bad, actually.
Kurt will restart 18th. Green flag. Brian Vickers is your race leader. Bobby Labonte, the 43, out in front of Vickers. Stayed on the racetrack, didn't pit his tail into the lead lap, but wow,
man, the traffic jam over there. The 8-car Mark Martin was not going. He wasn't up to speed compared to the other guys.
The reason Bobby Labonte stayed out, he had just made a green flag pit stop right before that caution.
Let's salute all our troops, past and present, for the Memorial Day weekend.
Here we go, big wreck, 42.
Montoya, big slide through the grass.
Hold.
Wow. Stays off the racetrack.
Wow, he
Thank
did it.
goodness.
I just knew he was going to come right back out in front of everybody, but he held it down there.
We tried to crank it up, and he cranked it.
Well, they got 3 wide off turn 4 there, and Montoya got pushed off in the grass, and can't do that.
Watch the 42, right side of your screen.
Here we go, 3 wide. They make contact here, then there's nowhere for him to go, and he gets the left wheels in the grass. And I thought sure that thing would go back in the road right here, but it held down there.
You see sideways just under 100 miles per hour, and he's going to stop right at the exit of pit road. Very, very fortunate that's all that happened there. It all started at well over 170 miles per hour.
Big question, Larry, will be what damage, if any, was done to that front splitter when he keeps going from grass to pavement to grass to pavement again.
I think the main damage, Mike, is on that right front fender. I'm not sure the splitter got a lot of damage.
Okay. He's doing a lot of plowing, I know that.
Jeff Burton's view. And Mark Martin will get the free pass under this third caution of the day. There's a look at the front splitter. Those things are tough. You see the strut, the middle strut bent a little bit.
Bent just a little bit, so they'll have a little work to do there.
Juan Montoya becomes a 170-mile-an-hour lawnmower right here. Where there had been a building boom. A brand new drag strip out back, and look along pit road. There's a building boom there as well. Jeff Hammond with today's State Farm Safety Report. Stories high and 2 rows of seats deep, though.
Look at all the people up there.
Is that his engineers?
That's Hammond's deal right there, but that's what makes him mad. He got a $100,000 pit box. All those engineers sitting around, and all I ever hear is, give me 4 tires.
Jack Roush there with Nicole Biffle in the 16 pit. Time for an AT&T race break.
Leading 171 laps in. Let's just show you a little bit of what's happened over the first 170-plus laps. Kurt and Kyle Busch have led some 97 laps combined. The brother act going back-to-back here. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. running second. Had some problems on a pit stop.
Bust the left front. Bust the left front off. Bust the left front off. Come on.
A 24.6-second stop took him from second to, well, he dropped back at least a half a lap, lost 12 seconds. Moments ago, Kurt Busch running second, scraping the wall, goes from second to 18th, and then Juan Pablo Montoya, one of 3 open-wheel drivers in this race. Jeff Hammond having some problems.
Yeah, all these guys are starting to show how all the things are starting to change. I mean, Larry and Darrell have been trying to keep you updated on how much this racetrack is going to change, and some of these incidents are because of that. Everybody's starting to get a little more aggressive the further we get into this race. promise you right now, business is going to pick up.
You were talking about the pit box, talking to some of the pit crew members, normally 6 to 8 stops. He said, hey, we're gearing up for 12 to 15 over the course of this marathon night.
And that's exactly what you've got to be ready for. Mentally, physically, you've got to be prepared to do that many stops and be able to make that many or more adjustments, you know, if you get that opportunity.
Are these toys from your pit stop to bring you to the Hollywood
Hotel? Representation of basically the salute to our troops right now. All the cars on the racetrack this weekend saluting our fine men and women of the for armed forces.
And speaking of which, as these are terrific cars, Matt Yoakum has more. Matt?
Well, Mike, NASCAR official Tony Cable knows all too well what honor, sacrifice, and service to our country truly mean. Back in 1966, this Marion, North Carolina native left behind his bride, Janice, and headed west. He went to the Mekong Delta, serving in the 3rd 39th Infantry, 9th Division A Company. He spent most of his time in country in the village of Rakhine. He was wounded twice, awarded 2 Purple Hearts, a Bronze Star, Combat Infantry Badge, the Army Accommodation for Valor, 8 medals and accommodations in all. And, Chris, you know what they say. Our biggest heroes are usually those that are the most humble. And no one is more humble about what he has done for our country than Tony Cable.
Matt, we thank you on this Memorial Day weekend. No other sport like NASCAR intertwines itself with the men and service women of our country, past and present. 8 leaders so far, 14 different lead changes. Our AT&T race break. If you want to get an exclusive look inside the world of Richard Childress Racing, Jeff Burton of the 31 Chevrolet, thanks to AT&T now you can. Using cellular video on your AT&T handset, you can access all the inside RCR content. We're less than an hour from actual sundown here, Jeff Hammond.
Well, that's when I keep talking about what the biggest change is going to occur is when the sun is finally down. But this pit stop we just went through, I think some of the major changes are just getting started from the guys that are starting to sneak up on this thing because they know it's got to be done.
Let's rejoin Darryl, Larry, and Mike. This has been an AT&T race break.
3 caution flags so far as we get ready for our clear to drive restart with clear and clear indoors and out.
You know what? If you go back and listen to the interview Jimmy Johnson gave a little earlier about track conditions changing, that's an astute driver right there. Absolutely knew everything that was going to change about his race car and what to anticipate. The key word in racing, anticipate.
173 complete, 227 to go. The sun setting here outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Brian Vickers out front of Jimmy Johnson, and we're green. Let's try once more for a big Memorial Day. Crank it up. Just ran their fastest lap of this race about a lap ago after that restart.
He's trying to sell some T-shirts now. That's a busy dude right there.
He is busy. Try to buy a T-shirt at 180 miles an hour.
That wasn't the kind of apparel I was normally looking for at 180 mile an hour, but It might work.
We're about 20 laps to halfway, and the goal in the first half of this race, stay on the lead lap, stay in contention. 20 cars have been able to do just that.
You know, there you see Kyle Busch in the 18 car. Of course, Kevin Harvick in the 29, he's a lap down. But remember, it was not that long ago that Kyle Busch in the 18 was on pit road with a tire problem. Now he's back on the lead lap. Oh, by the way, he's back in the top 10.
Yeah, and remember how he got back on the lead lap, too, Larry. He didn't get the free pass.
He drove by the leader with those fresh tires.
He got it.
Darrell, this time of day, you see the contrast between the dark shade and the bright sunlight. What kind of shield do you want when you have so many variations in what you're looking through?
A lot of guys have that yellow shield where it kind of brightens everything up when the sun goes down. But as you can see here, Jimmy Johnson's got the clear shield. And look at those eyes. Man, they don't blink. Nothing but focus.
Now, Junior, I think Junior's got the dark shield, or he's got that optic orange for contrast. Pretty dark. Carl has a clear shield.
I tell you what, Jimmy Johnson was focused on was Brian Vickers in that 83 car. He pulled up behind him off turn 4. He completes the pass off turn 2. I tell you, a car that seems like it got off a little bit, and now the track's cooling down, and it's coming back to him. Casey Kane in that 9 car pulled up beside Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. There you see him back in the 4th spot.
In the All-Star race, Larry, that 9 car in the open race early wasn't that good. He said it was way too loose, but when the sun went down and he got in the All-Star race late in the evening, he really picked up.
Steve Burns.
Mike, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, hey, I'm a little tight. Thanks for fixing me up. And Tony Eury Jr., as crew chief, said, hey, no problem. We just want to give you a little confidence. We didn't want you to wear your arms out.
Well, we saw him there a little bit ago. You know, the in-car camera we had of how he was laying that right arm on the steering wheel. That's kind of an old trick you do to keep from getting tired. We see Robbie Gordon blowing up here.
Saw him smoke a couple of laps ago going off into turn 3, and you can definitely see the smoke out of the exhaust. That looks very terminal.
All right, Brian Vickers continues to drop back. Carl Edwards just went past him for 4th place. Matt, what's up with Vickers?
Emotions going back and forth, Mike, on the last stop. The concern went away because they told Brian Vickers they did indeed have a loose left rear wheel.
And he just hit the wall. He just hit the wall hard, Matt. And going
around goes Gilliland.
And everybody else gets on the brake.
I think they're running over parts over there. I see parts flying everywhere.
And a wheel goes over the fence into a camper area. And, a lot of damage to Gilliland.
I think he hit the wheel.
I believe so.
I think he hit the wheel and launched it.
But what it looks like is either that wheel came off or it busted the center out of that wheel. He was complaining about it being loose, Matt was saying. Because he had lost about 4 or 5 spots.
Let's see what happens here, Larry, because that wheel actually came off, so goes in the corner here. Oh, yeah, the whole wheel just comes off.
But, Darrell, I didn't see any hub or axle. It looked as if maybe the center broke out of the wheel.
Well, I can't get a good enough look at it to tell.
But, Mike, I think you're right. I think Gilliland hit that tire and wheel.
Let's see what happens here. Yeah, you see the center of the tire, the wheel is gone.
Well, the only way we're going to find out, we're going to have to go over to the infield and dig it out of that camper tent that it went over into.
Man, look at the guys.
And it did bounce off the hood of Gilliland's car. Still going. Photographer scramble. And it just missed those folks up on that scaffold. So hopefully everyone okay there. Look in the right-hand corner of your screen as David Gilliland spins and bam! Hood and windshield.
Amazing.
Brian Vickers has climbed out of his car. He is okay. And pit road is open, Dick.
Carl Edwards pits out of the 4th position with a very good race car. He started his 30th and has passed a ton of cars. Still the wrench in the back window on minor adjustments. Matt Yoakum.
And Jimmy Johnson's car is in. He's been having issues trying to get the car to turn. It was too tight. Chad Canals working on the air pressure, Krista.
Fuel only for Casey Kane and a last-minute track bar adjustment. Just a slight one, a quarter turn up for Casey Kane.
But pretty much as anticipated, it hadn't been that long since they were on pit road. We saw a lot of fuel only. We saw a lot of 2 tires. Chad Canals, Jimmy Johnson, they did decide to go with 4. They gave up quite a number of spots on the track.
Brian Vickers had a great run going here and led 61 laps. Here is Jeff Burton's view of what happened to Vickers. Gilliland's car into the garage area. He was involved when Brian Vickers lost the left rear wheel, slammed the safer barrier between turns 1 and 2, and you see some of the foam being replaced there right now. As for the infield where that wheel and tire went, we do know that Speedway Security has been there and has been talked to the folks in that area and checked things out, are now leaving. We are still waiting official word to hopefully confirm that no one was injured when that wheel and tire cleared the fence.
But, you know, Mike, that's the great thing about that safer barrier right there. You know, it's basically 2 walls with that foam between it, and you see Brian Vickers, he'll go off into turn 1 and 2. You'll see the left rear wheel and tire just come off. You see the driver's side into that safer barrier, but the great thing, that foam moves, and that dissipates a ton of energy. That's what makes it a great thing.
But you could see the center of the tire, the wheel came out, Mike. So the wheel apparently broke.
Which was from loose lug nuts.
Probably so.
Tough break for Vickers and Gilliland. We are under caution.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now your leader. Kurt Busch, Brian Vickers, the lap leaders out of the way. And no injuries, by the way, in the infield where that tire from Brian Vickers landed.
And the thing is right now, this tire and wheel weighs about between 75 and 80 pounds. But you can clearly see the holes there. All 5 holes are wallered out. That means that wheel had been running loose for quite a while. And all what it means is that the lug nuts literally came off. They got so loose that they literally vibrated off. And you saw what happened when that does occur. All of a sudden, that wheel just literally jerked right off the race car. Down on the racetrack, he went up in the wall, and that tire was basically off to the races. I mean, flying all over the place. And we're very lucky that it hit the outside retaining wall, hit the catch fence, and then came back down. And even though it hopped over the inside retaining wall and inside safety fence, nobody was hurt.
Yeah, they weigh about 75, 80 pounds, and both Brian Vickers, David Gilliland involved, they were okay.
And let me explain something to you. Sometimes these guys will grab an air wrench, and it doesn't do a really good job of tightening the lug nuts up, so that's what you may get you in trouble. So definitely they did not have a problem. They had a problem there. Steve?
Well, Jeff, the 88 hit pit road after that caution, took fuel only, but give Tony Eury Jr., his crew chief, a lot of credit. As Junior exited pit road, you take a look at the replay, he actually is coming on pit road. Now, this is something that you and Larry McReynolds have talked about over the years. The crew chief has the responsibility to spot for his driver, and watch right here. He tells Junior to hold up, and he narrowly misses hitting the 11 car of Denny Hamlin. Heard Tony Eury Jr. on the radio. Give him a lot of credit for that.
Green flag. Brian Newman and Matt Kenseth start in the back for exiting the pits too fast on their stop. Dale Jr. the leader, Casey Kane, Jeff Burton, Kyle Busch, and Dave Blaney, the front 5.
That's 17 of Kenseth and the 12 of Newman. They had worked their way just inside the top 10.
Off the 2 over there, guys.
Right at the back of the pack. Michael McDowell goes around.
Boy, I swear I think he's going to save it.
Caution.
Well, let's see, Larry, in about the last 30 minutes, we've got like 5 cars back on the lead lap.
Well, we only had 1 caution in the first 160 laps, and now, basically, in the last 32 laps, we have had 4.
McDowell's spin will likely be a break for Bobby Labonte, who'd been working hard to stay the first car on 1 lap down. There goes McDowell off turn 2, and Labonte gets the free pass.
Darrell, he just got up high, and the car just came around with him.
Yeah, I saw that a lot last night in the Nationwide race. It looked like when you get up high off of that corner, not much grip up there.
Now, he's 2 laps down even before this right here, back in the 35th spot.
Yeah, got a little damage there. They had to work on the car.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the leader. Casey Kane, Jeff Burton in third. Kyle Busch, Dave Blaney, David Rudiman.
How about my buddy Rudiman there, Larry? Up to 6th place.
Hey, who else is up there in the top 10? Elliott Sadler up in 9th. Had a great run last week till he got taken out in the showdown.
So cautions breed caution. Your career at the helm of this track and of Speedway Motorsports Inc. And here we go for the restart at lap 196.
Seeing Jeff Gordon down on the inside like that, you normally think that this was the start of the race. He was on the pole. But, man, he just hadn't had that kind of success over here the last few years.
But look at that run. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car got on the high side, but he better get going because I just believe that 9 car, as this track cools down, it's getting better and better, just like you mentioned, Darrell, in the All-Star race.
Yep. And that 18, Kyle Busch, that's the 3rd place car. He's back in play. Jeff Burton right there with him on the outside.
Yeah. Oh, Yeller is about ready to get back up there and get after him.
And Dave Blaney, the 22, has been a player for most of the afternoon as we begin the transition to evening. Now, Matt Kenseth had to make an extended stay on pit road during that caution. Dick, what happened?
In the accident, Mike, something hit the windshield and also the right side of the windshield, A-post, which got bent. So they've got to get that fixed if they possibly can. He was on pit road for an extended time trying to make those repairs.
Pretty minor, actually, just that little spot right there. Must have been a piece of some of the sheet metal.
There was a lot of debris flying around that
Really was.
besides the tire and wheel.
The Matt Kenseth remains on the lead lap. Also lengthy pit stops for Juan Montoya. He is 1 lap down. Oh, Kurt Busch sideways.
He was absolutely sideways. And remember, Kurt Busch, you see all the damage. He's still on the lead lap as he is battling his teammate Ryan Newman in that 12 car. That's a battle right now for 17th.
I think he knocked it out of alignment. I think he's trying to realign it. But look at those Penske cars crabbed down the straightaway. They're still the cars that are still crabbed out the most.
We need to mention that one car right in front of those Penske cars of Martin Truex Jr. Remember, he was having alternator issues. Chris Savoda told me during break they did change the battery on one of these last cautions. So hopefully he's good to go as we are now halfway.
Changing at the front, Larry. You know, we got the 88 lead, and right behind him is Casey Kane, Jeff Burton, Kyle Busch, Dave Blaney, David Rudiman, and now Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle. Elliott Sadler and Tony Stewart has now worked his way into the top 10.
And, Mike, we're about 30 minutes away from sunset, but now the track is almost completely in shade. If you look at our top 6, they just run the fastest lap of their race, all 6 of those cars.
Chevrolet's moved into the top 2 of the top 3 spots.
Well, remember what I said at the beginning of the race, 32-somethings. Then we were 31-somethings. Now we're at 30.2. So laps that we gained 2 seconds since the start of the race in lap time.
David Rudiman running the top of the racetrack in his number 44. You ride with Carl Edwards, who is trying to take 6th place away from Rudiman.
Boy, Rudiman's done a really nice job of staying right there, though. I thought he got up there maybe on a pit stop or something, but he's running that good.
He's holding his own up there. Started all the way back in the 28th position when this race started. There you see he's looking for his first top 10 finish of 2008.
If that Big Brown would run like the horse Big Brown, he'd just be on up there taking the lead right now.
Be in great shape.
That's the fastest horse I ever saw. He's got 2 gears. He's got a spare and another one.
There's the distance from Casey Kane up to race leader Dale Earnhardt Jr.
But Rudiman just run up there and pop 22 in the back end. I'm going somewhere. Get out of the way.
And the reason he better get going is that 99 car, Carl Edwards. He's continuing to make a mark. talk about the track going through transition. You go back to the All-Star race, Carl Edwards just annihilated them in that second segment. They made no adjustments on that race car, and he was junk in that third segment.
5 cautions so far. The fourth one was when Brian Vickers slammed the wall down in turn number 1. He is out of the race, and Dick Berggren spoke with him a few minutes ago.
Brian Vickers has just come out of the care center. You're obviously okay. Tell us about that wheel. Could you feel it starting to go?
Yeah, you know, the last couple runs, it started to work loose a little bit, and we weren't really sure exactly why. You know, I mean, I have a lot of confidence in my big crew guys. They just won the All-Star Challenge. We know they're good, but we got to get to the bottom of it for sure. And we had such a fast car, you know, so fast. A couple years now, we've led a lot of laps here and haven't been able to close the deal. Just so proud of these Red Bull guys. That last time, you know, every time it's kind of worked loose real slowly, but it stayed on. It's been fine, just a slight vibration. The last time, obviously, it picked up a vibration for about 2 laps, and all of a sudden it just let go and came off the car. And yeah, I really hate it for everybody and on the team, and also that tire getting away. You know, it's part of the sport, but we're going to find out where that thing went. Some of those guys, I guess they took the tire away from them, so we're going to send them some cool stuff.
Well, you sure showed them something tonight. You had a great run going, Brian.
For the lead, Casey Kane around the outside of a slip-sliding Dale Jr.
It'll be no contest now because Casey Kane has been working that high side. Watch him. He'll go through 1 and 2, and he'll get that launch off turn 2 that we see him get. He'll just go right in front of that 88 car.
Back to Vickers' deal just for a second. When that wheel kept working itself loose, it kept eating the threads up on the studs. And even though they were running the nuts up, there were no studs there anymore, or no threads there. That's why the wheel came off.
You know, Mike, you mentioned the nighttime is the right time, and I think there was a car that knew that. This 20 car of Tony Stewart, Greg Zipadelli, they qualified back in the 31st position. They almost got lapped when the sun was out. They've been marching their way to the front since the track is cooling down. He's working on Dave Blaney in the 22 right now for the 7th position.
And Greg Zipadelli's got 2 crew chief duties this week. He's on baby watch. Nan is due in a week.
And I think right after Dover, that's no longer going to be due. I think it's going to happen.
Matt?
And Tony Stewart quietly working his way, edging ever closer to the top 5. And he made a comment after the All-Star race last weekend of how strong his car was at night. And that's what they were banking on, waiting for about now. We're the halfway point when the sun goes down. His car was so tight earlier, he said he had to keep it on the very bottom, on the white line, or he was in trouble. And now he's moving to the front.
20 cars are on the lead lap at halfway. 2 more trying to stay in touch with the leader and get back on the lap. That's yellow car of Kevin Harvick and Jeff Gordon. 1 lap down.
And right now, Jeff Gordon's in pretty good shape because he's faster than Kevin Harvick, and he has about half the distance of the front straightaway in front of Harvick. He just needs that caution flag to get back on it because I think that was another car, Krista, that felt like their car would be better when we get to the closing stages when the track is cool.
Absolutely, Larry Mack. And you know, when Jeff Gordon came in under caution, it was just a fuel only, a small wedge adjustment. Those were the calls. When they got off pit road, they said, hey, the only car that beat us was the 43. Steve Letarte, the crew chief for Jeff, said, that darn crew chief of that car. That, of course, is Jeff Mender and Steve Letarte's own car chief. So they're having a little bit of fun.
You got to have fun. It's a long race.
Casey Kane. It's been a whole week since he's been in victory lane. Won the fan vote, went on to win the Sprint All-Star race.
He's still counting that million.
And $1 million.
Yeah.
Voted into the All-Star race, has gone to victory lane, and Casey Kane is in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. now by just about 1 second. Juan Montoya had an issue off turn number 2, and the driver on pit road who won the Indy 500 on Memorial Day weekend, won the Grand Prix of Monaco 3 years later on Memorial Day weekend. Now with an unscheduled stop, a lot of work on the left side. They'll get Montoya back into the race.
And Mike, I heard Casey Kane say that win last Saturday night, he didn't know what it did for his team, but he knew what it did for him. It gave him a ton of confidence that he was lacking.
Looking at Kane and this huge crowd from the Goodyear blimp. Aerial coverage provided to you by Goodyear for track-tested technology. Get there on Goodyear Innovation. Look at this crowd. One of the network morning shows this week did a big feature saying that folks wouldn't go to Indy or Charlotte this weekend because of the price of gasoline. Don't know who did their research, but this place is pretty well packed. There's an empty seat here or there. but there's a huge crowd on hand today, as there was up at the Brickyard.
Yeah, I actually saw people in the snake pit at Indy this year. That first turn corner at Indy was packed full of people this year.
But you know, Mike, it's been our theme all weekend. The reason that we can be here about 200,000 strong and over 250,000 strong in Indy is because of our men and women, boys and girls overseas fighting for our freedom 365 days a year, every single minute of the day. We can feel safe. And for them, we know a lot of them are watching. We salute you.
Absolutely, Larry. You know, when I was a kid, Memorial Day was about decorating your bicycle and marching in the parade. And as a young man, it was about watching the list of people I knew coming back from Vietnam one way or another. And now I have a son and a daughter, and I worry about their future and about the world that we're building for them. And I'm more grateful than ever about the people who serve and those who wait.
You got to, it's such a sacrifice. You just think about it. Volunteer. We have a volunteer army. They're not drafted. You volunteer. And these people go over there, and we're thankful for them.
Front straightaway debris has put us under caution for the 6th time today.
A couple of cars at the big break for. Jeff Gordon will be back on the lead lap. He'll get the free pass. Another car that's the big break for. Greg Biffle, who had just lost the position driving the 16 car. We got a report he was overheating big time.
I think he might have had something on his grill there, because that explains why he was absolutely wearing out the back bumper of that 11 car.
Trying to get that debris off, changes the pressure on the nut.
I thought he was upset with him about something, but that makes sense.
Our spotters indicate that the debris may have been something off Kurt Busch's car. Remember, he hit the wall earlier. There's a look at Biffle. Currently in 12th. So now, Larry, we're transitioning to nighttime. It's a good time for a pit stop because however that car worked in the sunlight, it's going to want to be different now.
Yeah, we're about 15 minutes away from what will be our segment 4, but I think this is where these guys know that this track is about to go through that real serious transition to nighttime, really going to cool down. This is where you better make an aggressive adjustment, because if it's not right, you will have time to undo it.
There's one other transition you didn't mention, but from a driver's standpoint of view, when it gets dark and these lights really illuminate this track and it gives you a whole different perspective, that's another transition that it's going to go through.
Pit road is open. Dick Berggren, what will they do?
Well, David Rudiman is going to put 4 tires, or his crew is going to put 4 tires on the car. They're going to make an adjustment to the track bar. Those 4 tires will have an air pressure adjustment. Mike Rudiman is on his best run of the year. He is pitting out of the 5th position. Started this race in the 28th spot.
Matt. And the 20 car, Tony Stewart, on the bottom corner of your screen said the car starts out free. They went 2 tires the last time, going 4 this time, and then it went directly to tight. That's why he dropped 2 spots right near the end, Krista.
Our leader, Casey Kane's car, is so good, they're not going to make any adjustments. 4 tires, fuel, and water for the driver. Steve?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. says a pretty good grist. It's just a little tight. Quarter-pound, small increments, quarter-pound in the right rear. Kyle Busch, you see him leading pit road. They talked about pulling a spring rubber out of the left rear spring. We'll follow up on that. He says his car's pretty good.
Looks like everybody went for 4 tires except, how about our buddy Elliott Sadler in that 19 car? He's been hanging out all night on the lead lap. He wants to lead this thing a little bit. 2 tires.
Yeah, he's been the 12th place car, and he moves up. Concert and race tickets. Go to DoverSpeedway.com. We'll see you there.
You going to play in Artie's golf tournament?
You know, that day I'm going to play in the Speedways golf tournament for Dennis McGlynn. Just a long-standing commitment there, but I know you guys are going to have a great time up the moment.
Yeah, we will.
2 quick things about that 18 car. The voltage is back down on both batteries, and they got aggressive that time. They pulled that spring rubber out of that left rear. The track's starting to tighten up.
Another Claritin clear to drive restart. As they get set for the green flag, Elliott Sadler, who took 2 tires on that pit stop, is your race leader from Dale Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane, Jeff Burton, and David Reagan.
You know what we don't have?
What's that?
Anybody out of the race.
Well, we got Brian Vickers, Robbie Gordon.
I guess those guys are at the bottom.
Both Rash and then Dave Gilliland.
Back out.
Will probably not be back out.
And you know what Elliott Sadler's about not to have? The lead of this race. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he got on the high side off turn 2. He's going to win the drag race here. He's going to lead that lap. He'll go down into turn 1 and 2 and just slide up in front of that 19 car.
Dick?
Well, Elliott Sadler has other problems, Mike. They didn't get all the gas they wanted to get into that car, so he is going to have to pit before other people, unless a caution flag brings everyone on pit road prematurely.
And I'm sure what Rodney Childers and that group were doing, they were trying to get the lead of this race and thinking other people maybe was going to do just 2 tires and didn't. And that's part of the product of changing 2. You can't fill it up as quick as you can change 2 tires.
Elliott Sadler trying to rebound from 28th in the point standings.
You saw what I saw.
Yeah, we all saw it.
Coming off turn 2, it got busy over there.
Sam Hornish in the 77.
I was right on the verge of saying, oh, no.
But you know what? We were just talking about Sam Hornish in the 77. Of course, Sam right now is a lap down. But that 6th car of David Reagan, he's been solid all night long. He started in the 5th position. He's running in the 5th position. And in his last 2 races, he has had 3 top 10 finishes, including finish at 5th at Darlington a couple of weeks ago.
That's not fair to not show you what we all saw. Right. So here it is. Watch the 77 of Sam Hornish in replay.
Looks like the car just really takes off with him, and I thought he was going to pin the 96 in the wall. See him get loose, walk up the track, and then Reagan is right there as well. And oh, by the way, they are in front of the field, and that would have been huge.
But I believe just like in the All-Star race, if Sam Hornish can get back on the lead lap, I think he's got a fast enough race car to race up there in the top 10 to 15.
I've been watching him. He's working that high line, and that old thing's crabbing down the straightaways and going pretty good right now for him.
That was a battle for 3rd right there. No longer a battle.
Jeff Burton on the bottom. Takes the spot away from Elliott Sadler. And yeah, Hornish's car, the later we ran last weekend into the night, the better that car worked.
Well, you see him right here. There's the 18 right in front of him. And Sam just keeps picking them up and putting them down. He gets back on the lead lap like he did in the All-Star race. Look out.
But right behind Kyle Busch in the 18 car and behind all these cars that are lap down, how about Bobby Labonte in the 43 car? He was a lap down at one point in this race, got the free pass. Jeff Mendering, a lot like Rodney Childers with the 19 car on that last caution, went with 2 tires, got that track position. Only 8 seconds on pit road the last time.
It has caught Labonte right back up with the field. He was one of a number of parents whose kids were racing Pinewood Derby cars with Motor Racing Outreach and Speedway Children's Charities and the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts here this weekend.
Well, if your car's good when the sun goes down, even though you may have gotten behind early on, now you're going to be able to make up all that time, and maybe the guy that was good when the sun was out, he goes the other way.
Here comes Carl Edwards against Labonte. This is for 7th.
We know we have probably 2 to 3 more pit stops, but how about the lead this 88 has gotten in just about a little, not even quite 10 laps. Right now, it's 2.5 seconds in front of Elliott Sadler. There you see the difference right there.
But, you know, I think we saw this last week in the 4 segments of the All-Star race. Whoever got out front, checked out. Adios, see you boys later.
And I think that's the reason that was one of our keys late in the race. Track position probably more important than 4 fresh tires.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads by 2 points. 33 years ago today that the legendary Dale Earnhardt raced for the first time in the NASCAR Cup Series. He wound up 22nd. It was here at the Coke 600. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to end a 73-race skid without a win. Your leader, 157 laps to go. The car in the wall in turn 2.
Yeah, right now it looks like it's J.J. Yaley. The caution is out. The 96 car has gotten into the outside safety barriers. He's been kind of flirting with that all night long, and looks like he is definitely flattened the side of that race car.
So our 7th caution Big racing weekend. You know, we have a lot of racing to go here. 156 laps at the Coca Cola 600 at the Grand Prix of Monaco. That's Great Britain's Lewis Hamilton winning the Formula One race. This took 2 hours, and for him, his first win in Monaco. At the Indy 500, the pole sitter from New Zealand, Scott Dixon. For Chip Ganassi Racing, his first Indy 500 win for Scott. That took 3.5 hours. Here we might be looking at a 4.5 to 5 hour night, and the lead changes. That's the total of the races run earlier today, and we have 20 so far in this race.
Yeah, we're just a little bit past halfway. We've already had 20 lead changes, so we still got quite a few more lead changes to go.
In fact, coming in for the same point last year in NASCAR, we have had 34 more lead changes, so at least that's something NASCAR fans get to enjoy.
Looks like right now everybody's gotten slowed down by the caution car getting ready to make pit stops. Dale Jr. Is getting ready to come on pit road, and Dick Bergman, I believe you got the 19.
I do indeed, and Elliott Schuyler is going to come off pit road, or onto pit road in the 4th position. They're going to take 2 tires. They're going to make a wedge adjustment to try to help the chassis, give him a little bit more grip. But it's going to be a quick stop with just 2. Remember, they took 2 last time around.
Now, David Reagan, the highest running Ford in the field, currently in the 5th position. They're going to go with a right side tire change. They went 4 last time. No changes. They're motion. They're full. So don't go. Oh! He had to stutter step a little bit getting out of the box, Krista.
It's right sides also for Casey Kane. He said the splitter's back down a little bit like it was early in the race, but it's right sides only is the call. No other changes.
Fuel only on the 31 for Jeff Burton. Right side tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mike.
Thanks, Steve. And we're under caution again. This is the 7th one of the night. J.J. Yaley, the ex-open wheel star out of Phoenix, getting up and into the wall in turn number 2, which has been Calamity Corner much of tonight.
It had been 17 laps since these guys were on pit road, most of them 2 times
road, and the reason was he did not stop in his pit. Watch Newman coming along there in the blue car, makes the turn in.
Crowded, couldn't get in and out.
Yeah, his pit stall is right in front of David Rudman's in the 44 car, and it's like it just snuck up on him.
So Newman has now just made his pit stop. His teammate Kurt Busch finished his. They will restart tail end of the lead lap, 20th and 21st. Jamie McMurray was out front. He's dropped down to the inside. So the race leader once again, Kyle Busch from Jeff Burton, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, and Dale Jr.
I think the biggest story of that 18 car with 152 laps to go, we know that he's still being haunted with alternator and battery voltage problems. So that's going to be interesting to watch.
He was complaining about being loose just before that caution flag. Get him tightened up a little bit. He'll probably check out on everybody now.
It's live wire. He's got enough voltage to carry that thing.
You got that right. Just plug him in.
You know, we just had talked about it not that long ago, but Kyle Busch's teammate, as we're watching a battle between teammates right now, that's the battle for the 4th spot between Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88, Jimmy Johnson, and the 40. It gets real loose off turn 4. But I think the car to watch is Kyle Busch's teammate, that 20 car, Tony Stewart, now up to the 3rd position. We're riding with him here.
Yeah, that car, that 20 really looks nice. He's been pretty much stuck to the bottom all night.
Look at the drive he got off turn number 2. Jeff Burton gives him plenty of room. There's Stewart around the outside. Now Burton comes back at his strong part of the racetrack.
Oh, look at the run.
Whoa.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. got off turn 4, though.
Well, while they were fighting each other, 31 to 20, Jr. got a real shot off before, but that 20 will go right back to that white line. He's a bottom feeder tonight.
And look at how he gaps the 31 from turn 2 to the exit of the corner.
Jeff Burton cannot get off turn 2. That's how Stewart got by him. That's how Dale Earnhardt Jr. will get by him, as well as Sam Hornish in the 77. Right now, Sam looking for that 26 car, because if he can get by McMurray, he'll be the car eligible for the free pass.
Just remember what I told you in my drive and ride. The guy that wins this race tonight will be running right where Tony Stewart is. He'll be eating up that white line.
How about Stewart, Matt?
Tony was complaining his car was a little bit tight on that last run, Mike. Small change, wedge adjustment in the left rear. They also pulled some tape off the grill. He wasn't sure. Maybe he picked up a tear off because the water temperature climbed to just over 245 degrees. They just pulled a piece of tape. He should be fine.
Thanks, Matt. Single file at the front. They're going to work the lap car at McMurray, but boy, what a traffic jam here. Teammates, Rudeman in the 44, McDowell in the 00, then Reagan is in there in the 6.
Boy, look at Junior. Look at Junior off 2 over there, Mike.
He is getting a run on the high side off of both ends.
While Tony was down there digging around the bottom, Junior got up high and just got that shot off of 2 and cleared him. Sorry to jump in on you like that, but that was a big move.
Now, Reagan has cleared Rudeman for 10th place. And still right behind them, they are still going at it. This has not sorted out. Darrell, there used to be a time years ago where you'd race 100 miles, you'd ride 400 miles, you'd race the last 100 miles. And you look at this pack right here. Nobody can ride anymore.
Well, it seems like with this car particularly, you've got to get them while you got them bunched up like this. Because once they get strung out a little bit and get clean air on the nose, you just can't seem to make the pass or get back to the guy.
Now, there's that battle for the first car to be the 1 lap down. Sam Hornish in the 77, McMurray in the 26. We get a caution. Sam Hornish would be the car to get back on the lead lap. Well, Mike, again, I go back to what you said. The night time is the right time. It is now nighttime. We've got 145 laps to go. This is our final segment. 8:30 p.m. to the finish. The track has actually cooled down almost 35 degrees. The track is at its best. You can run high. You can run low. The speeds are way up. The RPM's going to go up. This is where you may only get 1 or 2 more shots to get that car right.
And for 21 of these cars, including Kevin Harvick, who got the free pass on the last caution, mission accomplished. Get through the daytime, stay on the lead lap. Now, go put yourself in a position to win.
And that's what Tony Stewart and the 20 car did. They were about to get lapped in the first 100 laps.
Paul Menard to the cars out of the race. He was reported earlier as leaking fluid. Something terminal happened to the Menards number 15, so he joined Brian Vickers and Robbie Gordon in the garage.
But let's mention David Gilliland, who received a lot of damage when Brian Vickers lost his left rear tire, spent some time in the garage here. David is back out there in the 38 car, 55 laps down.
Casey Kane coming back toward the front, goes after Jeff Burton for 4th place.
Yeah, Jeff Burton's car is not right now. He cannot get off the corner. That's pretty much how Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart got by him, and it looks like that's how Casey Kane's going to get by him as well.
Kind of right at this point where we almost like we started. Junior chasing the 18 car here, and Junior looks like he might be just a skosh better right now.
There's Bobby Labonte in that 43 car. We talked about him a while ago, still on the lead lap, up there battling for the 13th spot.
Carl Edwards behind him, Rudeman and Sadler in front.
And that's a lot of cars on the lead lap right there. Regan Smith in the 01 car. Right now, Regan,
one down.
One down.
Dale Jr. had a close look at the back bumper of Kyle Busch, and Kyle gives him the top.
Well, he has to. I mean, Junior comes off turn 2. I mean, I bet he's 10 miles an hour faster off that corner over there than Kyle is.
This will be the 23rd lead change of the night, and still 141 laps to go.
And look at Kyle. If he's getting right in behind you, you say, okay, you're a lot faster. Let me see where you're running. I mean, look you over, dude.
I think these 250,000 people are telling you who just took the lead of the race. Darrell, I think what you said is true, but I think someone's going to have to tell Dale Earnhardt Jr. that the bottom is the best way around this racetrack, because he is wearing that high groove out.
He's got a real move off of turn 2 over there. Makes me a little nervous, though.
Steve?
Mike, listening to Kyle Busch in the 18, he just said it doesn't feel like it's in the racetrack like it was last Saturday night. He also told Steve Annington 11.1 volts on both batteries. So as Larry Mack said, he's continuing to lose some power.
Yeah, but he's still in good shape. I mean, that's a lot of voltage yet. I mean, only pull 14 when everything's working right. So I don't believe he's going to really have a problem It seems to me like they're handling it all right.
And one reason Kyle's car feels differently than last Saturday night, this is not the same car.
Right.
That car felt fast. This car had a more comfortable feel.
And trust me, this is not the same racetrack either. She's had a lot of racing on it since last Saturday night.
Well, don't forget, that's not the same engine he had last Saturday night either. But I did ask him about that, Mike, and he said this car was not as fast as the one they had here last week, but he felt it was more comfortable for the 600 miles.
Lurking back in 6th place, Jimmy Johnson, the fellow who considers this place his house. He's got a lot of wins here. Matt Yoakum in his 5th.
Jimmy Johnson working on his 6th win here, and he and Chad Canals talking about what adjustments to make to the car on the next stop. Jimmy still doesn't have the handling where he'd like. It doesn't feel like it's in the racetrack. Still a tick on the tight side. But Mike, we talk a lot about being successful. 5 times they've won here in this track, especially at night, is the key to stay focused and to stay hydrated and have your energy level where you need it. And they've got just about everything here. If you're a health food nut, they've got the power bars. They've got all their protein bars. If you're like Larry Mack and myself, you like to go a little more toward the sugar side. But Larry Mack, they've got some slices, but they're not your favorite kind of orange slices. But I will tell you this. 2 stops ago, Jimmy Johnson got a wedge adjustment, a bottle of Gatorade, and a banana.
He better eat those bananas fast. They don't
They're
look too good.
looking a little ripe.
Darryl, as long as he doesn't ask for a goodies, right?
No goodies. No goodies, please.
They'll give you a Snickers, won't they?
No, a Pop-Tart. I asked for goodies one night because I had a headache and it gave me a Pop-Tart. Said, well, he said he wanted some goodies.
Here in the South, that's a brand of headache powder. A remedy.
Good stuff.
By the way, you got any?
Yeah.
Hey, I bet you didn't see that one coming. More NASCAR on Fox.
Guard Car, which recently ran the fastest lap of this race, is a sponsor of the FLW Tour, so you can play FLW Fantasy Fishing, free to enter at fantasyfishing.com.
And Mike, I got to tell you, I mean, he's making me nervous because he is using every inch of this racetrack. He goes into turn 1 high, right up next to the fence. He takes it right up to the wall. I mean, almost scrapes it right there. And off turn 2, he is absolutely out as far as you can get.
Leaving little margin.
Well, that's the whole thing. It worries me. No margin for error here.
Craig Biffle surrenders 9th place to past champion Bobby Labonte. Here's Krista.
Mike, we still have a lot of racing left, but they're going to chalk this up to another disappointing night for Greg Biffle. We told you about the problems he had earlier where they were going to think about making a right front shock change. They never did that, but then he had the overheating issue. They came down pit road, looked under the hood, checked everything, the ductwork, all the hoses, everything was fine. They went back out on the last stop, fuel only for track position, but Greg just got on the radio a few laps ago and said it vibrates in the corner. I can't even believe I'm going to say this again, like I have a wheel loose.
Gosh. Thanks, Krista. Just ahead of him, Bobby Labonte goes after Dave Blaney. Now, Labonte in the 43 has 2 wins and 6 second-place finishes here. He has not finished outside the top 20 at this racetrack in 10 years.
And just remember, it's the place he got his first career win 13 years ago in the 1995 Coca Cola 600.
He's holding a pretty wheel right now. He's been coming back. I mean, he had to restart in the back, and he's working his way right up. He's just got around Blaney for 9th.
A lot of speculation as to what Labonte might do next season. The Petties would like him to stay in the number 43. There are other things out there. Bobby Labonte is working on a contract extension with the Petties, but as of right now, that has not been finalized.
Well, I think if they can keep giving him race cars like this, that may persuade him to hang out there for a little while longer.
You know what, Mike? I tell you, probably over the next 3 or 4 weeks, maybe months. Keep getting it, they told us. You're going to see some changes. Lots of changes. Lots of changes. Crew chiefs, sponsors, drivers. Lots of things in the works right now.
And right now, Labonte is the fastest car on the racetrack. His spotter was not kidding it. 31 flat a lap ago was the quickest lap on the track.
But Daryl's right. When you look at these next 7 races, it's all over the place as far as the type of racetrack, and that's when we get a break. And I think by then, we'll start to see who the players will be and what players are going to go where, especially for 2009.
Hang in there. Got a long ways to go to you.
And that's good advice for Matt Kenseth, who started this race 12th and is now running in 15th after dropping, I believe he dropped off the tail end at the tail end of the lead lap. Had to make an extended pit stop for that damage to the windshield and A-post, and has come back up the ladder up to 15th. Time for a look back in Coca-Cola 600 history, brought to you by Ford. Drive one. It was Matt Kenseth driving a Jack Roush Ford who got his first career win in this race. May 28, 2000. It was only his 18th career Cup start, as Kenseth became one of 8 drivers to get his first career win in the Coke 600. Ford, drive one. Second place race among teammates. Tony Stewart is the only Joe Gibbs Racing driver who has not been to victory lane this year in the Sprint Cup Series.
Oh, Kyle just got up a little too high there off of 2 and had to get out of the gas, and Tony drove right past him.
But we're less than a month away from the official start of summer, and that's when Norman, the 20 car, officially starts to get to victory lane.
Tony is not an early riser, and he is not an early season winner.
So he doesn't like getting up early, that's for sure.
I used to think it was the Indy 500 that distracted him. You know, that it just that he had his focus there, and that's why after May he seemed like he always took off. But he hadn't really had his heart in Indy lately, I don't reckon.
I think today his heart's in Eldora, because in 10 days they're going to run the Prelude to the Dream live on pay-per-view, and later this summer it will re-air on Speed Channel. Tony and a lot of his rowdy friends, a lot of Cup drivers, are going to be at Eldora, Ohio on the dirt for charity, raise money for Victory Junction Gang, and an invitation is being extended to Scott Dixon, winner of the Indy 500, to join them. For more information, go to TonyStewartFoundation.org.
And I tell you, if you just can't imagine what Jeff Gordon, Juan Montoya, Carl Edwards, we know is a great dirt racer, Kyle Busch. Wait till you see these cats swinging them sideways at Eldora. That's fun right there, boys.
In DW, we'll drive the water truck with flame.
I got her flamed.
By Tony Stewart.
I got her all flamed up. I'm good to go. Pack that track.
Tony Stewart now second to Dale Earnhardt Jr. by 3 seconds with 118 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 2.9 seconds up on Tony Stewart. Stewart is about 1/10 of a second a lap quicker than Jr. right now. Kyle Busch in third, running the same lap times as Dale Jr. Casey Kane in fourth. Jeff Burton in fifth, both running about the same lap times as Tony Stewart. So things are closing up gently.
Smoke is diamonding the corner. He doesn't want to run all the way at the top, so he kind of goes in, floats her up a little bit, and then drives to the bottom. Kind of diamonding the corner off, making pretty good time doing it, as a matter of fact.
Jamie McMurray coming in. I think we're a little early for stop.
Yeah, we should be able to go very close to lap 300. We're about 10 or 12 away from that mark.
Guys, nice and easy. You're 5 away, 4, 3.
But we're getting to a point where this is about a 2-stop race to get to the end.
Okay. One concern that's been expressed throughout the night is the voltage meter, the voltmeter on Kyle Busch's car. You need 13 or 14 volts to start the race. That's what the alternator keeps things charged at. Steve, where are they now?
Mike, I just went down to the 18th pit. He's lost 3 volts in the last 20 laps. He's down to 8.5.
That's not good. That's getting on that's borderline now. He'll start slowing down if he loses much more.
Yeah, we still got 110 laps to go, which is right at about 150 miles, just a little over.
These ignitions are such high-energy ignitions. They take a lot of spark and a lot of power in the battery. Once they go that far down, then you're starting to lose performance.
And he just lost third spot to Casey Kane.
Yeah, we should get one pit stop here if we stay green in about 10 to 12 laps, and that should carry them right to about 45 to 50 laps to go, and if we stay caution-free, that'll get them to the end.
I believe Casey Kane's trying to become only the third driver to win the All-Star race and the Coke 600 in the same year.
Jimmy Johnson did it in 2003, and Jeff Gordon did it in 1997, I think it was.
Okay.
There's been 5 guys that have done it.
5.
Well, no doubt, guys, Casey Kane is very good, but on the last run, before that last stop, he thought that he may have a bad set of tires. They took right sides only, and Casey was wondering why they took tires at all. He was worried about losing that track position. Kenny Francis obviously said, well, I thought maybe your tires were bad. Casey came on the radio about 10 laps ago and said, Kenny, that was the right call. This set has been much better.
And oh, by the way, Darrell was the first of those 5 to do it.
Well, how do you think I knew all that?
There was more to it than just studying the book, right?
It's like I always said, I love to see people break records, except when they're yours.
Yeah, right. Now look at McMurray fly on those new tires as he scoots away from Dale Jr.
Well, I think we're going to have to see that 18 car come to pit road, because now his motor is actually starting to miss just a little bit. He needs a caution big time with this 18 car. Remember, this is our points leader right now.
But, you know, Larry, even still, I mean, I wouldn't come in until I had to.
Back and forth there, but
Because his lap times aren't that far off. He just ran a 31.8. That time by, he's still running 31.8, and Junior's leading the race at a 50. Tony's running a 65, so he's not that far off lap time yet.
Yeah, they definitely, I mean, they need to milk it out, but they certainly could use a caution, that's for sure.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming up on Jeff Gordon, 2 Hendrick Chevy teammates. And Gordon about to go a lap down for the second time tonight. He did get one of those laps back with a free pass at lap 225.
You know, watching Dale Earnhardt Jr. right there, he was leading at lap 200, which was the halfway point. We got 105 laps to go. But drivers leading at the halfway point, they have failed to win the Coca Cola 600 20 times. So you look at numbers.
I think it was at Indy today. They said that whoever was leading at halfway only won the race like 5 times. And of course, Tony Kanaan was leading at the time. And I'll be darned, 5 laps later, he was crashed.
Tonight's Allstate Good Hands driver is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Watch this along pit road with an attaboy to crew chief Tony Uri, who said, whoa,
there he goes.
And he J.J. Yaley and Junior in the wall.
Oh, Junior got in the wall and Yaley ran into the back of him. But this is what I've been worried about.
Coming low here. What happened there, TJ? Blow the right front tire, I think.
Well, Darrell, one good thing about that high line Junior was running, when you lose a tire, not so far to the wall as if you're running the bottom.
No, but you know you're definitely going to hit it because you're right up against it. You see he's after Jeff Gordon here and right behind him, and you see the car goes in. It never gets to turning. So the tire was soft when he got there, and then Yaley just pile drives him.
Yeah, I mean, most of the damage on the 88 car was from when Yaley got in the back of him, because he didn't have to move it a few inches till he got into the wall when the tire let go.
There's something,
the car won't steer.
He can't get the car off the wall. He just keeps it, hanging it in the wall here.
I think he was fine until this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there.
But now the car won't steer off the wall, either from the flat tire or other damage. Yaley goes for a spin, and Junior hit the wall several more times.
Definitely a failure to communicate here on the 96's part. I mean, golly gee. Spotter, somebody didn't do their job. Let's see if we can hear anything other than the sheet metal.
Just couldn't steer the car off the wall.
Probably the fender was bent down over that flat tire and it just couldn't steer it.
The caution is, however, a big break for Jeff Gordon, who was about to go a lap down. Let's see Tony Stewart's view. Look way up ahead. Now, pit road is not yet open, but Kyle Busch is in.
Well, we mentioned Kyle Busch needed a caution. What they're doing right back here on the left rear right now is that battery is front of the left rear tire. The penalty for pitting before pit road opens will be tailing the longest line. It's a moot point. This gives them more time to get that battery changed.
Yeah, that's a good move right there. Good call on their part.
And here comes Junior. Oh, the right rear is down, the right front. And Yaley gave him a hard hit to the rear.
Boy, June's in a hurry. I know that.
Well, he'll take the speeding penalty, Darrell, see if they can get anything done there and get him back out.
Yeah, he's trying to stay on the lead lap. That's going to be a tall order because right now the pace car is in turn 4.
Going to have a little trouble getting that car in the air. It's right down on the rim.
Just remember, the 2 car hit the wall earlier hard, and he's running 15th right now. This car can be fixed.
A lot harder than what he did.
Yeah. This car can be fixed.
Steve?
And, Mike, that's something we've seen a lot this season with this new race car. Cars hitting the wall, appearing to be severely damaged, but then being able to continue in race-worthy fashion. So Junior is down and away, trying to salvage the night.
Well, it looked like he may have beat the pace truck to the end of pit road.
I think he did, but he went by that set of lights that go green to red. They were still green when he went under that light, and that would keep him on the lead lap. And again, the penalty for speeding will be tailing the longest line, a lot like Kyle Busch, a moot point.
Big deal.
I'm just curious as to why he rode the wall as far as he did, and then finally got it going. I mean, if he couldn't drive it when it was in the wall, how did he get it where he could drive it to pit road? So that kind of puzzles me, too.
Well, if both right side tires were down, Darrell, did it keep getting sucked into the wall as he went along there?
You see him back on pit road now. Pit road is still closed. The field is just going into turn 3.
That's a little bit faster than pit road speed, I might add.
And
but
NASCAR is admonishing the team over the two-way radio.
Guys, no gas. Just work on my quarter panels. We got enough fuel.
Now, pit road being closed, which is going to be open this time, as I mentioned, we were right up against green flag stops. We're getting a report, a lot of cars, we see them down on the apron, that they're running out of fuel here on the crossing.
Because they're in turn 3 right now, so just fix it the best you can. Make sure I ain't got no tire rub.
Saw a guy there unloosening the tie rod to adjust the toe.
All right, leaders are coming in. Dick?
David Ruderman had been running in the 7th position as a result of those folks who peeled off the racetrack at Earnhardt's crash. They were concerned about running out of fuel. They are so very close. Minor adjustments to this car, Matt.
Tony Stewart's biggest complaint over that last run, the car was just getting tight in the first third of the corner, but it was really strong on exit, Krista.
That Sunoco juice was never so important. Their scheduled stop for Casey Kane, 298. This one lap could have been the difference. 4 tires. You'll get it full, boys. Steve.
Chris, Jeff Burton saying his race car, that number 31, is getting tight. 4 tires for his Chevrolet.
But I will say that may be the last time that these cars see left side tires. I think the rest of this race you'll see right sides only. Keep that track position.
If you got to fill it up with fuel, you might as well put 4 tires on.
Tony Stewart wins the race off pit road. We're under caution. Junior's night has just taken a wrong turn. Now, we had been told that he was going to be penalized a lap for passing emergency equipment on the track at speed after being warned.
Stretch here, so when you get over here, make sure you back
But after further review,
don't say anything, TJ. Let's real report it.
They have rescinded the penalty, and they're moving Earnhardt around back on to the tail end of the lead lap, where he would have started taking the penalty for too fast down pit road. NASCAR replayed the video, took another look, and decided that Junior did not endanger the safety workers and merely came down pit road too quickly, so that will be the penalty. He will not be held a lap.
Yeah, well, that's one of those penalties where, you know, you're better off to take the penalty or sit there and lose the lap. So sometimes we stretch that just a tad.
Tony Stewart is your leader under this 8th caution flag of the night, and if you've got a NASCAR question,
He's back on pit road. Let's see what he's up to.
Well, again, we know that they changed the battery in that car. You get a feeling what they're going to do is just keep that thing topped off with fuel, because he, like Dale Earnhardt Jr.,
Good to go.
pitting before pit road was open to change the battery, he'll have to start at the tail end along this line.
Over here.
And we're right there in that window where you're just trying to get one more stop in the book.
Still roughly 100 laps to go, Chris.
Yeah, Mike, we've had 26 lead changes, 12 different leaders, and of course the driver who's won 3 of the last 5 Coke 600s. This was Jimmy Johnson back on lap 182, passing Brian Vickers for the lead. And then Brian Vickers had the problem with the tire, causing major problems on the track.
Yeah, the left rear tire came off the 83 car, and watch it. It bounced down to the inside, over the safety wall, and right up basically into the infield. But fortunately, nobody was hurt. You can see very clearly the wheels just left loose.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. led the most laps in this race, 76, getting past Kyle Busch here, bringing a roar from the crowd. This before Junior's wreck, obviously.
Well, the thing is right now, it's not just the fact that he took the lead, it's who he took the lead from, Chris.
And now Tony Stewart is your leader, just ahead of Casey Kane. Tony, the only driver to finish in the top 10 in both Lowe's races last season. It's been 25 races since the last Sprint Cup win for Tony Stewart, who celebrated his 37th birthday this week.
Yeah, right now he's looking pretty stout. We've seen what these Joe Gibbs Toyotas can do, and it's good to see Tony back out front in a race that he could really use to win right now, kind of get him started.
Let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Big break for Sam Hornish. He gets the free pass on this caution flag, and just like in the All-Star race last week, Hornish with a late free pass gets back on the lead lap. He marched his way up to 7th last weekend here.
I believe he can do it tonight, too, because that car is fast. And getting back on the lead lap, that's all he needed.
We're going to have 95 laps to go, and we now, with these cautions, we have 22 cars on the lead lap, only 3 cars out of the race, Paul Menard, Brian Vickers, as well as Robbie Gordon.
So now it'll be Regan Smith and Reed Sorensen trying to get back on the lead lap.
Uh-oh, Digger. Look out, buddy. Look out. Man, he popped up at the worst times. No, he didn't.
If you're going to do it under the caution
Best
lap.
times, I guess.
Ready to go green with a clearance, clear to drive restart. Get clear, clear. Back to feeling like yourself again. Carl Edwards in 11th.
Oh, clear, he can clear. He needs to pick it up a little bit. Back there in 11th place.
Kind of had an up and down night.
Needs to get to quacking.
Buddy, this track is getting right now. They're going to lay some speeds down.
Should be able to. We've been looking at a low 30s, so we need to get down in 29s now.
Tony Stewart brings them back to the green flag with 95 laps.
Trouble, big trouble, guys. I've been waiting for this to happen. This front straightaway here is notorious for this.
The caution is out again. Looks like the guy, only 2 guys that really got spun around. Denny Hamlin in the 11, who's going to get going. Reed Sorensen in the 41. Now, Denny's still on the lead lap.
See, this front straightaway is flat. And when you come down here and you got 850 horsepower, somebody spins the tires, bottlenecks up, and you get a crash.
Oh, Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car who was running in the 11th spot. A lot of damage.
It was a really slow start here with Tony. He really brought them down slow and backed everybody up. You can see they're moving along pretty slowly here, and somebody doesn't get going. See that little bump and run? And just like on the interstate, somebody back in there is going to rear end you.
Martin Truex kind of got the worst of the domino effect.
Yeah, it happened right back there in the area of 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th where it all started. Like Dave Blaney got into the back of Denny Hamlin, but they just stacked up like an accordion.
Watch Reed Sorensen, the 41. Gets tipped by
99 actually got, 99 got in the back of the 1, turned him. But it was not a very good start, or not a very good restart, I should say.
But I think a lot had to do with how slow Tony brought him to the start.
He kind of brought him down and then give him a little jackrabbit start.
One thing when you do that on a quarter-mile track. Another one,
back in the day, we called that a Texas restart.
A little damage on the right front of Cousin Carl in the 99, too.
just hope we're not at that point in the night when cautions breed caution. We're close. We start before we go green. Tony Stewart, 55 miles an hour. Pulls it down just a little bit, then gets going again. Little wheel spin. But back behind them.
The tires just a little bit, but I just think when he brought them down that slow, it just started stacking up the deeper it went in the field.
Stewart and Kane bring them off into turn number 1. With Jeff Burton, David Reagan, and Jimmy Johnson the first 5. Bobby Labonte, Mark Martin, Greg Biffle.
We're hearing that Martin Truex Jr., the one car that was involved in that, still on the lead lap. They're going to black flag him because the front splitter's loose. He'll have to come to pit road. Kevin Mannion, that group, they'll have to repair those braces.
His teammate Regan Smith was the free pass car from this caution and is back on the lead lap. 23 lead lap cars now.
We're riding with Casey Kane right now in the 9 car, but we had talked about cars that hit the wall. You got to give a call to Pat Trice and Kurt Busch in that 2 car. They have worked their way back into the top 10 after hitting the wall hard earlier in the race.
Yeah, I never will count one of these cars out of the race till it's in the garage in the truck, because they just over and over are able to fix them. When I said earlier that we had no cars out of the race, 38 got back in, and 2 cars are out.
Casey Kane got that run off turn 2 like he's done for the last 2 weeks out here. He's going to go to the high side down in 3 and 4, but look at Jeff Burton in the 31 car. He's going to get in the mix. Taking a slide down in front of Tony Stewart to take the lead.
I'll tell you, Jeff Burton's up on the wheel now, and not too far behind them comes a young man that I think's primed for a win here at this racetrack, and that's 6 car, David Reagan.
Yeah, David Reagan has been right there inside, just outside the top 10 all night long after starting the race back in 5th. Now Burton's going to move to the high side, see if he can get the run. I don't think he'll make it happen this time.
I tell you, my little buddy back in there, he's slicing and dicing that 18 car. He's just looking for little holes to get through right now. He's got a fast car. When there's not one there, he'll just forge one. Watch this. Up, down, inside, outside.
Let's show you a lap ago. The move that Kyle Busch in the 18 pulled on Sterling Marlin and his teammate Reed Sorensen.
Now, this is when I said he was forging holes. This is forging.
And you can see he was all the way below the white line there, and that's different banking than the corner.
But he makes it. Look.
Makes it work.
He didn't hit the guy. He didn't. Sterling in the 40, he didn't hit him. He just wedged his way in there and forged his way to the front. Buddy, this guy right here in this 6 car. Now, I got a lot of confidence in him tonight, because he had a great race here last night.
Quick in practice.
That thing was fast in practice, and he's there.
David Reagan tonight equals the number of career starts in the Cup Series his father Ken had in a career that stretched over a dozen or so years as an independent driver.
And, you know, he's great friends with Humpy Wheeler, who's retiring here this weekend. And his dad works for 600 Motorsports. Isn't that what you call Larry, the legend car?
600 Racing.
600 Racing.
Which is where David got his start, down at Atlanta Motor Speedway on the quarter mile, racing in the Bandoleros and the Legends.
I think it was David Reagan, Reed Sorensen, and Joey Logano. Did they all, like their little groups that have kind of come up through the ranks together?
Exactly. Come to Dover next weekend. You'll see Joey Logano make his first nationwide series start. And next Sunday, the Best Buy 400 benefiting Autism Speak right here on Fox.
In fact, back to David Reagan, how he broke into the top ranks of NASCAR. Jack Roush used to hold a gong show. And back in 2004, 2005, David was the winner of that gong show and earned a ride in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series with Roush Fenway.
Elliott Sadler in the 19. He has led a bit tonight, trying to bounce back. This race is around 10th spot here as he's battling Ruderman for ninth.
Yep. Hey, another guy that's really coming on strong here late in the evening too is Bobby Labonte in the 43 car. He's found a second win here late in the race. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, let me tell you how good they are. On the last pit stop, or just prior to, rather, Bobby Labonte said, don't touch this car. Don't do a thing to it. They told him you're 2/10 faster than the leaders on that last run, so just 4 tires, and back he went.
He's one of the few drivers that's driving the same car tonight that he did run in the All-Star race last weekend. They were happy with that car on the long run.
Hey, if you got a leprechaun on the hood of your car, I mean, you got a leprechaun up there.
You got a bunny on the back.
And a bunny on the back. Got the luck of the Irish.
That's what Humpy said in pre-race. And there is
the wounded 12 there. There's the 12 wounded.
There is nobody here who wouldn't like to see Bobby Labonte and Stock Car Racing's king, Richard Petty, go to victory lane.
I'm telling you, and it's just all like karma, you know?
Tell you what, watching Kevin Harvick in this 29 car, another car that was a lap down at one point. That's not that many laps ago, but Krista, it looks like the nighttime is the right time for him.
That's right, Larry Mack, and they just wanted to survive. Talking to this team this morning, they knew they would not be good. They just kept up with the racetrack, which we've documented and talked about all night. Back on lap 187, they said the car is a lot better. The condition he has right now, though, he's tight all the way around.
79 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has led the most laps tonight, 76 of them, but pounded the wall coming out of turn number 4. Spent a lot of time on pit road. Got a minor penalty for speeding. It's been a tough night.
Yeah, it is, Mike. I mean, he's still on the lead lap, and now we've got 79 laps to go. I think they need some cautions to work on his car more because he's about a half a second off leader Casey Kane, and right now he's a half a lap down to Casey Kane. This race right now, should we stay green, everybody will have to make one more pit stop to get to the end.
Well, I'm watching him, and he's not as good as he was, obviously, but he's not dog meat. I mean, the car is still running decent speeds. Watch this 18. He is bobbing and weaving, boys.
Last year's winner, Casey Mears, in the 5.
And, you know, I tell people all the time, I don't care what kind of car he's driving. I'm a Kyle Busch fan. I just like the way the kid races. Puts on the show.
Is it in part because he reminds you of a young Darrell Waltrip?
Well, I think it is. I mean, you know, I had a real rough time with the fans at one time. We didn't get along too good, and I was kind of always agging them on and taunting them a little bit. And I love to tell people how I was going to beat the other guys, and he does a lot of that stuff. But he's 23 years old.
You know what he does a lot like you? Your race car did the talking on the racetrack, too, for you.
You know, you can say, well, if you say you're going to do it and you go out and do it, well, what else can you do?
Just to update Kyle Busch, remember, he started on the pole, led a big portion of the first part of the race, and then they started having some voltage problems. They got a little off in the middle part of the race. The last caution, though, they got the battery changed in this car, and now he's working his way back up toward the top 10. He's in 12th position.
Kyle won last night in the Nationwide Series race. Casey Kane out front, 52 races without a victory. His last win was right here in October. Out of turn number 2, coming into view and coming around.
That's a burnout right here. Can't see anything.
Digger won't be able to see a whole lot here in a second.
Oh, boy, look out. The poor guy.
Talking about that hole at the wrong time.
You talking about Digger or Patrick?
No, I'm talking about Digger. Is Digger sold it? He's still selling that T-shirts, I guess. Yeah, there he goes. He's a lot better. He said, if I got to work like this, at least buy my shirt.
Carpentier has made a pit stop and continues.
And by the way, that one you get from him right now would have a skid mark on it. All right,
right, pit road will be open. Larry, 70 laps to go. What do you think?
Well, I think the key is it's only been 20 laps since we were there. I think you're going to see a lot of right side tires only. Get it full of fuel. You can't go the distance, though, from here.
The road is dirty.
Pat?
Larry Max right on top of it. That's the game plan for Greg Zipadelli, crew chief on Stewart's car. They're going fuel only. Jeff Gooch Patterson is going to pack that fuel cell full of fuel. Meanwhile, the 6 of David Reagan, they were talking about just going 4 tires so they could do right sides only on their lap stop. Krista?
Last week in the All-Star race, Casey Kane took none and won. Tonight, the call was right side tires. Kenny Francis said, take a deep breath. Steve?
Krista, 4 tires for Jeff Burton, the 31 car. They added some air to the left side tires. He was loose on entry. You see who won the battle off pit road? Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Chad Canals elected to go with fuel only, just like the 20 car. Chad Canals changed 4 tires earlier in this race when everyone else changed 2, and they just never did overcome it. Now they've got the lead of this race. We're going to have about 65 laps to go.
I'll tell you another thing Jimmy Johnson did, too. He made up a lot of time getting into his pit box.
All part of a package. A 4.3 just to top that thing off with Sunoco race fuel.
And they are the poster boys for keeping up with this racetrack as it transitions from daytime to late night.
Well, he took no tires last week. Remember, he had a car that wasn't very good back in the pack, got up front, and Jimmy said it made all the difference in the world. He picked up 410.
But I know Darrell and Jeff will relate to what I'm about to say. We're within 100 miles now of the last part of this race. We're right in that 100-mile mark between 500 and 600. This is when you know attrition will start kicking in, because you're almost on borrowed time now, because the longest race we run besides this one, 500 miles.
Oh, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team with a tire outside the pit box. Tire violation in the right half of the pit box.
And some of that frustration.
Yep, that'll be a penalty.
You know, good night just went bad all at once, and boy, it gets really frustrating.
One bit of good news, Ryan Newman gets the free pass. Chris, he gets back on the lead lap.
Yeah, Mike, we've had 12 different leaders and 27 lead changes, but being in the lead has not been a good thing. Kurt Busch, who led 64 laps on lap 162, scrapes the wall. The former NASCAR champ knocked out, and then Brian Vickers on lap 185. He led 61 laps. The tire coming off, he was okay. Everybody in there okay. And then Dale Earnhardt Jr., 103 laps to go, leading 76 laps in total into the wall. J.J. Yaley behind him. That allowed Tony Stewart to take the lead. As they cycle through, he is currently second with Jimmy Johnson out front. You see Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car being repaired. And Jeff Hammond, let's take a look at the leaders here. And can Jimmy Johnson, who's been so masterful here, hang on against a guy like Tony Stewart? Casey Kane, who's been on a bit of a roll.
Well, how many laps has he led tonight? So far, if anybody gets up around 70 to 80
That's
laps,
bad news.
It's bad news. So hopefully for Jimmy Johnson or Tony Stewart that number doesn't really come back to haunt them. But it has been really tough on the leaders so far tonight. But basically, Mr. Lowe's, a.k.a. Jimmy Johnson, is at the head of the class right now.
Tony Stewart was running mid-pack early. Now he's up near the top here, hoping to win for the first time this season. Is that part of the strategy he had to kind of wait, try to avoid trouble, let other things happen, and then make your move?
No, I think their car was off, and I think they were set up for this late run, which they've been running much better since the sun went down. But he definitely had his hands full early on, and he almost lost the lap because of it. But right now, Greg Zipadelli, Tony Stewart, and everybody with Home Depot have done a great job of keeping the 20 car up front. But again, I want to go back to Jimmy Johnson. He kept talking about if I could get out front. The other night during the All-Star race, I was able to kind of like pick up almost 3 or 4 tenths a lap. So it's going to be interesting to see. He's up there where he wants to be with less than 100 miles to go.
Yeah, Mike, Jimmy Johnson calls it his house. The lights are on. Let's see if he can stay home.
He has the lead right now, Chris, as we take you back to lap number 298. And tonight's Sprint Mobile Monster Moment. Here's where the race changed in an instant. Dale Jr. out front, but up and into the wall and piled into by J.J. Yaley. When the race changes in an instant with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile, follow the race instantly. Dale Jr. still on the lead lap. He's in 19th of 22 lead lap cars. It'll be Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, Casey Kane, Elliott Sadler.
You know, this kind of will prove our theory of if you're out front and you're able to pull away from everybody. The 9 was out front, long gone. Now he's third, so we'll see if Jimmy Johnson can pull off the same thing.
See a couple of guys that popped up in the top 10 that really they've not been there all night long. Sam Hornish Jr., who got that free pass not that long ago. And how about Jeff Gordon in the 24 car? We pretty much knew it up to the 7th position.
And I pretty well knew that Sam Hornish had a car fast enough. Now he's got some good track position. We'll see what happens here.
Hornish is 9th as we restart with 66 laps to go.
Boy, Tony got off in turn 2 terrible that time. Lost the momentum.
Caution. Debris on the front straightaway going off toward turn 1.
But A.J. Allmendinger back on the lead
he'll
lap.
be in the position, I think, to get that free pass. That 84 car, the winner from the Sprint All-Star Showdown last week. So that's going to put 23 cars on the lead lap with right at about 95 miles to go.
Carl Rick International Speedway with NASCAR on top. Now, Jeff Gordon came in and got 4 tires on this last lap of caution. Denny Hamlin came in for gas only. Carl Edwards pitted as well. The strategies here as we get ready for a Claritin clear to drive restart.
Yeah, we're pretty sure you still can't quite make it to the end, but the more fuel you put in now, if we stay green, that's the less you have to put in when you do have to hit pit road.
And Gordon was almost tail into the lead lap anyway, so it was a free stop for him.
This is that point in the race where being kind of in the back is not a bad thing because you got a lot of options that you don't have when you're up front. You watch this restart here because they try to run over each other every time.
Upper right, looking back from race leader Jimmy Johnson. He has a car alongside, fighting to get back on the lead lap, and now Johnson will clear him off turn 2.
I'm just anxious to see here if this 48 car drives off and leaves everybody. Like everybody that's been out front all night. We saw Tony do it. We saw Junior do it. We saw the 9 do it. And here he goes.
If he doesn't, it'll be a surprise.
It will be.
Stewart and Kane have to get past the lap car of Jamie McMurray to have any chance at Johnson.
But I believe if Stewart goes to the bottom in 1 and 2, Kane's going to go to the high side, and I think you'll see Casey get that good run. Tony is good on the bottom, but Casey just gets such a run off turn 2. You'll see him pull up right to the rear bumper of the 20 car down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that outside line up high off the 2 is just, there's amazing speed up there. Did I mention that old Yeller was back in the hunt?
Wild thing.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch, the 18 car, pulls right up to the rear bumper, sitting back there running in 4th, our pole sitter. But when you look at the 2 weeks at Lowe's Motor Speedway, regardless of what happens with this 9 car, if he's going to go by Stewart for second, won the All-Star race. He doesn't even have a top 5 finish in 2008. And here, not only is he looking at a top 5, he's got his sights set on winning this Coca Cola 600.
Little wobble there coming off 4. By the way, Dale Jr. got the wall off turn 2 that time.
Uh-oh.
But continue.
Be hard to tell now.
Let's have a quick look at it. Can't read any number on the right side of that car. It's gone.
Yeah, he just continues to flirt with that extremely high line.
Kyle Busch for second against Casey Kane.
Boy, he is there again.
Well, Darrell, you talked about it. You knew we'd get there. We just had Casey Kane and Kyle Busch that just ran their fastest lap. Guess what? Down in that 29-second bracket.
Oh, yeah. It's showtime, baby. We're getting down there near where you got to go now.
See David Reagan in that 6 car. Battling Bobby Labonte, got real loose when Labonte ran up on him, and he's going to fall all the way back to the 17th spot.
Well, we found out one thing, Larry. Casey Kane's car is happy out front, but he hadn't been able to make much progress here before trying to chase down Jimmy Johnson, but the 18 car has.
Yeah, right now, Kyle Busch, we'll see this lap. The last lap, Kyle Busch was almost 3 tenths faster than Jimmy Johnson. Now, that time, it was only about a tenth. We still got a lot of racing to go, 55 laps next time by.
And I'm really surprised. I don't mean this, I'm surprised, but the 9 car had such a good run off of 2 running high, but he's chosen the bottom, kind of following suit with everybody else.
Jimmy Johnson led this race at 500 miles. 20 times. The leader at 500 miles did not win the 600, including 7 of the last 10 years.
That's almost the same numbers leading at the halfway point when you think about it. Right now, Jimmy Johnson, he's going to have his hands full with this 18 car because Kyle just gets such a run. He's able to drive it down in the corner and watch that car stick right on that white line.
He can pick up the throttle and cut through the middle and turn it underneath. And he has got the nose right up in the trunk of that 48 car. And if you want the bottom, go ahead. I'm going on the outside. Now watch this run. He gets off of that corner.
But it was one of our keys. Run the top, run the bottom, run where your car's the best.
Now, you want to see a car check out. Just remember, it wasn't very long ago that he was on pit road working on his car, changing the battery. But here he is leading the race.
But, Darrell, just remember, talking about pit road, all of these cars, they will have to be to pit road for one more stop. It may be under green late, but they cannot make it to the end.
In NASCAR's 3 National Touring Series, just this year alone, Kyle Busch has run
you have to stay in that rhythm, but nice and easy.
29 races. He has 9 wins, 3 in Sprint Cup, 2 in the Truck Series, 4 in the Nationwide Series, including last night. 17 top 5s, and going into tonight, he had led just about 1,500 laps this year.
I don't know that I recall a season where one driver has dominated not just Cup, but across the board.
And, of course, he drives full-time for Joe Gibbs in the Sprint Cup Series. He's done it for 2 different teams in Nationwide. He won for Braun Racing last night. He's won for Joe Gibbs in Nationwide. And he drives for Billy Ballou in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
So it's 3 different series, 3 different vehicles, and 3 different crew chiefs.
Except last night, didn't he win for Braun Racing in the Nationwide Series and beat the Joe Gibbs car to do it?
Yeah, because they had a streak of 6 consecutive wins with Joe Gibbs Racing.
I think that was part of the frustration with Denny Hamlin last night. That car he was driving was going for his 4th win in a row, and Kyle kept him from it.
Darrell, give a listen to Jimmy Johnson's car, and look, he's not up. His RPM is down. Matt, what's up?
Mike, you just hit it right on the head. They've got some motor problems on this 48 machine. If it was a 500-miler, they'd be celebrating in victory lane. But there are some issues. They're scrambling here in the pit, waiting to see when this 48 will come to pit road.
What did I tell you? With about 100 miles to go, about 20 laps to go, this is when you know you are on borrowed time, especially under the hood of that race car.
Well, and the speed pickup, the RPM pickup, it's a miracle these things make it, any of them.
Settle and ride it out if you can.
Joe Lee Johnson won the first 600. Junior Johnson, who's here tonight, won it in 62. Jimmy Johnson's won it 3 times, and he just got passed by Smokes Johnson.
Where's Big Johnson?
At each 100-mile mark, here's who the leaders were. And right this moment, none of those 3 drivers are in it to win it.
Every one of them, they've had a problem tonight. Kurt Busch hit the wall. Dale Earnhardt Jr. hit the wall. Now Jimmy Johnson is down a cylinder. It sounds like.
Bit of smoke in the cockpit?
Yeah, he's done. He's real done.
Back now. All right, go ahead and bring it in here before you fuck up everybody's race.
He's down on the apron and headed for pit road. Look at the smoke out the tailpipe tells the story.
Yep, she's done.
And Jimmy Johnson will not score Hendrick Motorsports' 2nd win of the season tonight.
What that will do, that will move Elliott Sadler in the 19 car up into the 4th position. So now we have 2 Gillette Evernham cars up in the top 5. Elliott Sadler, like his teammate Casey Kane, no top 5 finish in 2008.
Here's Sadler.
You know, right behind Elliott Sadler, not too far back, we talked about him a little bit. David Ruderman, what a great run for him sitting there in 7th. You've got Mark Martin in the 8th. He had a header that busted on him almost in the first 50 laps, and now he's up in the top 10. And Sam Hornish in that 77 car, an Indy 500 winner, had to qualify for this race on time. He's up in the top 10 and 10.
And most importantly, NASCAR exempts the top 35 car owners week by week from having to qualify for the next race. You are guaranteed in. And right now, Hornish would move into the top 35 in 34th place, given the positions they're in right now.
But it's going to be close because Dave Blaney, who took that position away, right now he's in 13th. They came in here only 18 points separating those guys.
Blaney would be okay given the positions at the moment, and this driver, Michael Waltrip, would be the one to fall out of the top 35, meaning he would have to make the field on qualifying time next week in Dover.
Yeah, that's been kind of one of those things we've been keeping our eye on because Michael's been stepping back, and that deal at Richmond really put him in a hole when they parked him.
Jimmy Johnson climbs out of the Lowe's Chevy. Done for the night. And Johnson will likely finish about 38th. Kyle Busch in the lead, but 44 laps.
Kyle Busch in the 18 car, he'll run the high side. Right now, that 9 car, he's pretty strong on the bottom side of the racetrack. He should be able to slide up in front of Kyle Busch here with 39 laps to go.
He's strong everywhere. He's run the bottom. He's run the top. That car is really working for him.
Where did he run that last segment in the All-Star race when he took off from everybody?
He ran the high line. He got up high, and he was off of 2 particularly, was where he had a lot of straightaway speed.
A lot of Casey Kane fans here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, or a lot of fans of anyone who passes Kyle Busch. And I say that with respect.
No, you're right.
Kyle has put on the black hat and wears it like he owns it. He's the driver that fans either love or love to dislike. And that's okay with him. It's like Dale Earnhardt used to say, when I get up there, I don't care if they're cheering or booing, as long as they're making noise. When I climb up and get introduced and I can't hear anything but crickets, I'm going home.
Well, those numbers that you put up there a minute ago, I mean, when you pass Kyle Busch right now, you know you've done something special because he has been on a mission the first third of this year.
So Casey Kane out in front. Krista.
You mentioned Kyle Busch a few laps ago when Casey Kane was running second to him. He got on the radio to his team and said, a beer bottle just flew off the stands and just missed my race car. He paused for a second and said, I guess they were throwing it at Kyle. And then he said, I don't know if it was a bud.
Shameless commerce. Anywhere you can find it.
We're going to have 35 laps to go next time by, and should we stay green, I'm going to say somewhere between 12 and 18 laps to go. That's when these cars will have to come to pit roads, at least top off with Sunoco race fuel to make it to the end.
Well, now, I wouldn't think that there would be any big surprise as to what the 9 will probably do. Do you have any idea?
I would say fuel only.
Okay.
Just a little bit, I'd say.
Well, let's get some strategy insight along pit road. Steve Burns.
Mike, interesting strategy for Jeff Burton. They gave up a lot of track position on the last pit stop. It took 4 tires. But their thought is, if they do have to gas and go, they'll have better rubber on their tires than everybody else. They'll just take gas and take off.
But I tell you what, these guys really have to be careful. We've seen these guys on green flag stops slide those tires big time coming to pit road. You can't do that if you plan on fuel only.
And that's a tough call because you want to get on pit road as fast as you can. Don't want to give up any more time, but you lock that left front up and flat spot it, you might be in big trouble.
Dick, how about the 4th place car, Elliott Sadler?
Well, their plan all along, Mike, had been to just take fuel on this last stop, but they didn't take tires on the last stop either. And meanwhile, Sadler says he hears noises in the engine he doesn't like. They are worried about the power plant.
Well, you just think, folks, these engines in these cars they've done practice, qualifying, and 600 miles of racing tonight, and we have not had a lot of caution flags. These things have been working hard all night, turning 9,500 RPM.
Pat, Tony Stewart trying to move into position to win. What's their strategy?
He's never won a crown jewel marquee event in NASCAR. He's trying to score one here tonight. Basically, their situation is they took fuel only on their last stop. So that sets up what will their plan be. Right now they're talking about that for their stop of whether to go 2 or 4.
I just believe if you want to win this race, you better stop to get those 3 or 4 gallons of fuel only, which is only going to be about 3 or 4 seconds, and you better go if you want to win this race.
Clock winding down, 32 laps to go. Maybe some concern at Hendrick Motorsports, although Jimmy Johnson, his engine failure was only that team's first in the last 96 races.
That's a pretty good track record for Jeff Andrews and that group over at Hendrick Motorsports Engine Department, especially considering how many engines they build and field.
1 gallon, 1 gallon.
Here's a little discussion from Jeff Gordon's pit, Krista.
That's exactly right, Mike. Remember, they're on a different strategy. They came in on lap 337. Right now, they think they're only 2 laps short on fuel, and they may be gambling. They may save fuel and go for it.
These cars get about 4 to 5 miles per gallon of that 99 octane Sunoco race fuel. Well, that's cutting it close.
When we were figuring the mileage, and I always have to remind Larry, there's no way, there's always, he says no way, I say yes way. And somebody from our last caution that came in and topped off will try to make it, and they may just do it.
And remember who stopped on the last lap of caution for 4 tires and fuel? Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon.
And you know what makes me think that's definitely what they're working on is looking at their lap times. Right now, our leaders are running in the low 31. Casey Kane just ran a 30.95. Jeff Gordon, they have slowed that car down almost to a 32-second flat lap.
Patrick Carpentier had a slide through turn 3.
Looks like he's got an engine problem.
Brings it to pit road without caution coming out. So we stay green with just 29 laps to go. In stock car racing's longest night, Casey Kane leading. Measure of devotion to protect our way of life. America supports you. For more information, go to americasupportsyou.mil. 5,000 service people on hand tonight at the Coca Cola 600. 377 down, 23 laps to go. Probably a fuel stop. And they are still racing all around the track.
Or maybe a caution. These 3 guys right here, Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, and Carl Edwards, they have swapped 18th, 19th, and 20th back and forth about 5 times here in the last little bit.
Now, we talked about Jeff Gordon. Remember, too, that Matt Kenseth was on pit road on the last lap of the lap caution with Gordon to take on fuel.
In that 99 car, he topped off as well, Carl Edwards and Bob Osborne. So that could be what they're banking on. I still think that's a stretch because that's still 63 laps to go. They've slowed their lap times just a little bit. It's going to go right down to the wire, just like it did a year ago with Casey Mears winning this race.
Well, we didn't think anybody could make it to Phoenix, and they did.
And we've talked about comers and goers. Kyle Busch no longer pressing for the lead. His lap times have leveled off in 3rd place. And Sam Hornish got to 10th place and appears he's having a tough time gaining any further on Denny Hamlin. Let's listen in on what Kyle, or rather Casey Kane, had to say a moment ago.
It's pretty rough. Bouncing around pretty good. Right sides are getting pretty rough, it feels like.
Now, that's something he complained about in practice. They made a shock change. He was talking about chatter in the front tires, and the car had a harsh ride. That sounds like a lot of air pressure buildup to me. Because once these tires get a lot of pressure in them, they will bounce around a little bit.
Hey, what's chattering is that Toyota chattering up against his rear bumper right here. Tony Stewart needs to clear Regan Smith. And then A.J. Allmendinger, the silver car, to have a shot at Casey Kane. He's got plenty of time. 19 laps to go. Casey Kane, prior to tonight, had led only 5 laps all season in Sprint Cup points races. Tonight, Kane has led 61.
Now, what's interesting, we were just talking about Carl Edwards in the 99 and Jeff Gordon in the 24. Carl Edwards just went a lap down to Casey Kane, as well as Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he's about to put a lap on that 24 car of Jeff Gordon. We've got 18 laps to go now.
But, Larry, if they don't have to stop and all the leaders do,
it's going to pay off.
It'll be fine.
It'll still be fine.
A caution flag would change everything. It always does.
It would definitely change Carl Edwards' strategy as well as Jeff Gordon, that's for sure.
I've never known Jeff Gordon to get great gas mileage. He's just always been mediocre, maybe.
Well, and what those guys are asking, they're asking to go about 6 to 8 laps further than we've seen anybody go all night long under green.
You know when you do that, don't you? At the end of the race. And here comes smoke.
Stewart for the lead. And is Casey Kane pitting?
Casey is on pit road.
Yes.
This is where you can't have no mistakes. 45 miles per hour. Tony Stewart continues to try to put Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, a lap down. Krista, here comes the 9 car.
Steele only won him $1 million last week. That will be the call again for the 9 and Casey Kane as he brings his car on the pit road. It's fuel only. Dead.
4 seconds worth of fuel. He's fine. That was Elliott Sadler in front of Dick. Kyle Petty is in. Mark Martin is in.
I felt like they held the 9 car there way too long. He didn't only need to be there about 4 seconds. He was there almost 7 seconds.
You know what they're planning on, though, is a green-white checkered. You got to have a little insurance in the tank if you got to stop now.
And Casey Kane on every green flag run tonight has been one of the first cars to pit road.
Exactly.
He's getting one of the worst gas mileage runs of anybody out there.
Yeah, the 9 and 19 both have been the first cars almost every time on pit road.
So Tony Stewart assumes the lead with 15 laps to go.
You know, I see Jeff Burton back there in the 3rd spot. We heard Steve talk about they definitely plan on fuel only. The Childress cars, they've been some of the first cars to come to pit road with those Dodgers.
Sam Hornish on pit road for fuel. As green flag stops continue. Here's Matt.
Sam Hornish Jr. in. He'll only need about 4 seconds of fuel in his machine.
Scott Riggs in for a late stop. As they continue to peel off the banking and not stretch the envelope on fuel mileage. Ryan Newman in.
Yeah, the suspense is going to be if any of those guys that topped off there at the end of the last caution, if they're going to be able to make it or not. That's the suspense. And here comes the 20 on pit road.
Tony Stewart gives up the lead to Kyle Busch.
Starting to see a lot of cars coming to pit road now. Here comes Dave Blaney as well.
Matt?
And Jeff Gooch Patterson just gives Tony the fuel that he needs. They were about 12 laps short to Steve.
Well, Matt, Steve Addington said they only needed a couple seconds of fuel in that 18 of Kyle Busch. He wants them to take a peek at the right front fender. He thinks he may have a rub. 1001, 1002. They also make a chassis adjustment, and he's gone.
David Ruderman and Kevin Harvick.
That's a lot of work in 4 seconds, Mike. Pulled the fender and did a little chassis adjustment.
There comes Jeff Burton, the 31 car. He had taken the lead. There'll be 11 laps to go. Next time, we're pretty sure he'll take fuel only. Here comes Greg Biffle as well.
Steve?
And Mike, the call for Jeff Burton again. They're going to count to 1,003. Then the 31 will take off as you see Biffle on pit road. And Burton in front of him.
Kurt Busch in as well. Pitting out of 9th place. And Matt Kenseth, one of the last drivers to stop under the last caution.
But he's on pit road. He's on pit road right now. This will hand the lead to Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin was one of the cars that topped off with 64 laps to go.
And I believe he's the kind of guy that would go for it.
Dick?
Well, the fact that Kenseth was one of the last to pit meant that instead of 4 seconds worth of fuel, he only took 3 seconds worth of fuel. So a little bit shorter pit stop, Mike.
And David Reagan now pits out of 5th place. Fuel only. And he's gone.
You know, he only needed about 2 seconds.
Allmendinger is in. So's Kenny Schrader in the 4th Childress car.
Here comes Hamlin on the pit road.
Here comes the 11.
Now, this will hand the lead, I think, over to Dave Blaney in that 22 car.
And we're running out of gamblers,
yeah,
Larry.
I believe Blaney would go for it.
Blaney
I
and
need
Jeff
somebody
Gordon.
to go for it.
Blaney and Gordon would be the remaining drivers who have not been in. Krista.
Steve Letarte has been on the radio these last few laps telling his driver he needs about another half second. He just said, Jeff, keep that pace. That's the pace I need. Remember, they are trying to the gamble.
They're not stopping.
Well, they're not stopping. It's not going to be a race-winning move because we know that Tony Stewart and Casey Kane, they've already been to pit road, but it's a move that will take them from being outside the top 10 to possibly a top 5 finish.
For a team that has not yet won this year, not a bad gamble.
And for a team that has struggled all night long, got the free pass twice, or almost got lapped twice.
So now the question is, Dave Blaney in that 22 car with Tommy Baldwin, they topped off with 63 laps to go. Can they make it to the end?
Who's the biggest gambler in the garage since Tim Brewer retired from pit road?
I don't know.
Tommy Baldwin.
But he just
came to pit road.
He just folded.
Gosh.
He just folded, boys.
But what this will do, this will hand the lead to Tony Stewart in that 20 car, and right now he has a 6-second lead over Casey Kane 9. I felt like they held Casey Kane too long for the fuel he needed.
Well, if they held him 3 seconds too long, and he's 5 seconds back, Blaney gets fuel, about 3 seconds worth, he's gone.
Just remember, it ain't over till it's over.
Oh, no.
So that extra second or two may pay off.
Let me tell you another car besides Carl Edwards and Jeff Gordon that this may pay off for. Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now in the 88 car, because of continuing to come to pit road to make repairs, popping off the fuel. Right now, he's in the 5th position.
In a wrecked race car.
Well, he just got passed by his teammate.
36 leaders, 36 lead changes among 16 leaders. We've had 4 different leaders in the last 6 laps. With 6 laps to go.
I'll say, no telling how many more we might have. I'll say Smoke's got her on cruise now because he just needs to bring her on home. He's got the fuel now.
Stewart, Kane, Edwards 10 seconds back, Kyle Busch 13 back, and Jeff Gordon 14 back is your front 5 with 5 to go.
And we're continuing to get the word through our pit reporters that definitely the 99 car, Carl Edwards, sitting in 3rd right now. He has a 3-second lead over Kyle Busch, so he can slow it down a little bit. He's going to try to make it to the end with this 99 car.
And a little stack up here behind Greg Biffle. That's Schrader, Jeff Gordon, and Earnhardt Jr. Biffle has passed Gordon, so that changes 5th place.
You know, honestly, for the night that Greg Biffle and Greg Irvin have had, if they can turn it into a top 5, it's been a pretty good night for those guys. They have been all over the place.
And how about Dale Jr.? Bounced it off the wall hard. Fixed her up, got her back up to 7th place.
Yeah, and guess where he's been running?
That's Stewart. He hit the wall in 2.
Oh, got a flat right front.
Outside.
He may have hit the wall as that car scooted way up the racetrack down in turn number 1. And where's Casey Kane?
Casey Kane in the 9 car. He's going to take the lead. We'll be coming back to 2 laps to go for this 9 car.
You're all clear.
What a deal.
Yeah, right front's down, tore up.
No way you can ride around on that rim for 2 laps.
Nope. There's the replay right there going off into turn 1. Car just up the racetrack.
He did a well of a job to keep it out of the wall. That's the big thing. Got another car slow in 3 and 4. Hamlin's in the wall.
Denny Hamlin at turn 3.
He just went up and tagged the wall, and he's coming down right in front of him.
Boy, he
Jamie
made that
McMurray
have to go all the way on the apron.
Right front shredded. 2 to go. Casey Kane out in front.
One more time, hit your mark. Keep focused. Plenty of room.
We've got 1 lap to go. The flagman dropped the white flag down at his feet. Casey Kane didn't see the white flag, but trust me, they are telling him 1 lap to go.
Well, he got voted into the All-Star race. He was in it to win it. Banked $1 million last week. And Casey Kane, the 2006 winner. Now there's 6. Comes off the corner, and Casey Kane wins the Coke 600.
Edwards is down on the apron in 3 and 4.
He's out of gas. The 99 is out of gas. This is him we're riding with. All of these, he's losing positions right now.
He's going to make it to the line, but he's losing a lot of spots.
Now, Kyle Busch will finish in second in that 18 car.
Man, what a finish. Oh, my gosh. People wrecking, blowing tires, running out of gas.
And our tracker up here is unofficial, but it is showing that's the 1 lap to go being shown. So we'll have to get an update here as soon as it's official.
See you, bud.
Casey Kane has just become the 6th driver to win NASCAR's All-Star race and follow it up with a win.
Great job, Casey. Great job.
In the Coke 600.
Well, that's not much excitement on the radio. What do you mean, good job, man? What a week. I bought you a Bud last week. I'm going to buy you a case this week.
Kane joins Darrell Waltrip, Davey Allison, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, and Jimmy Johnson. Was the Allstate girl screaming in the background?
But I don't know. But when you think about the season that this team had in 2006 with 6 wins, he has not been to victory lane since winning here in the fall of 2006.
I'll tell you the thing, though. That 88 car comes home in 5th place. That's after slamming the wall. The 2 car, which was out of the race in my mind, he comes home in 16th.
Casey Kane salutes the crowd. He's looking for the checkered flag. There it is. Ray Evernham, co-owner of this team that he started. And the Gillette Evernham team will go to victory lane in Charlotte for the 2nd week in a row.
Looks like unofficially Carl Edwards coasted across the line to finish in 9th in that 99 out of Buick.
Right ahead of my buddy David Rubin.
Jeff Gordon's fuel strategy paid off. He finished 4th. Dale Jr., nice recovery for 5th. 25 minutes and 11 seconds for Casey Kane to notch his 8th career victory and his 3rd here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. He breaks a 52-race winless streak. Chris Devoda in victory lane.
Last week it was $1 million. Today it's a marathon. Casey Kane, you said there are some tracks you know. Lowe's is one of those tracks. Welcome back to victory lane.
Yeah, it's nice to be here. This Budweiser Dodge starter was great all night long. We were one of the best cars, and Dale Jr. fell out. He was awesome. Tony Stewart fell out there at the end. He was awesome. And, good job, congratulations. You know, and those guys were awesome. They had us beat at times tonight, and we had them beat at times tonight. So I just want to thank everybody from Dodge, all the Dodge dealers out there, Budweiser, Allstate, Stanley, Siemens, Valvoline, Mac Tools. There's so many people that are a big part of this race team, and Gillette Evernham's really stepped it up in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I feel like we're getting back to where we need to be for sure.
And your teammate Elliott Sadler came in and gave you a bath. You had 2 weeks in a row. Is this team where it needs to be? It's been a long season, I know, for you guys.
Yeah, it's been a long season, you know, a long first part of the season, and, you know, hopefully we got it turned around now. Definitely at Charlotte, I think this has got to be my best racetrack. It's, I think, 4 or 5 wins here now, so it's a big night. Ray Evernham, the Gillette family, they've all stepped up and done a great job, and these engines, Memorial Day weekend, everybody that makes it possible that we get to do this and that our families get to sit at home and enjoy it and watch it, and all our friends is really neat.
Special weekend indeed. From the Stars and Stripes to the Checkers for Casey Kane. Dick Berggren.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. finishes 5th with a car that looks like it really ought to be headed for the junkyard. How did you make progress with a car that's beat up?
Well, we just saved gas at the end. We came in and got stopped off with about 62 to go, and I was about 2 laps short and needed to save 2 laps. So me and Jeff sort of sit there and drafted a little bit and lifted real early, getting in the corners, and made it to the end. We ran good tonight, and I was proud of my team. We blew a tire getting into 3 and tore the car up pretty bad, and I thought we were done. Then I got motivated again. Then the car wasn't as fast, and we were just trying to hang on, and we got lucky. Same way them guys did last year. You know, we were running second last year in case them guys stretched it out and won a race, and we was on the other side of the fence tonight, so we'll take it.
Indeed, and he rocked the grandstand tonight, Steve.
And so did Kyle Busch, Dick Berggren. And Kyle, you won last night, had a great race car again tonight. You had some adversity with the alternator issue, but you guys got a lap down and got it back.
Well, we did. You know, we had, I thought I had a tire going down there, but that's why we got the lap down. Guys did an awesome job on pit road changing out the batteries and whatever it was. I'm sure it was an alternator problem or something like that. Tony had the same problem at Richmond, so hopefully we can figure it out and get it fixed. But the M&M Toyota guys did a great job tonight, and just sorry we didn't come home a little bit better, and, you know, wish we had a short run there at the end. That thing was fast in the short run.
Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. Nick? And Jeff Gordon is another fellow had a car that was, well, in the back early on, but you still pulled off a top 5 finish. How'd you do it?
Well, it was all Steve McCartney, the DuPont Chevrolet team. You know, they came in on that last caution, topped it off with fuel, said, you know, this is our only chance to get up there and get a top 5. And, man, it was pretty interesting racing the 99 and the 88. Some of those guys that were racing for fuel mileage because, you know, they would push me, and I would let them go, and then I'd get back by them, and the 99 ran out there, and we were trying to stay ahead of the 88, so luckily we made it. I mean, you know what, we need to qualify better, and we need to track position. Our car looked terrible. It wasn't as bad as it looked. We saw that one time we got up front there when we were trying to get our lap back, and I ran with the guys, you know, that were in the top 5, so unfortunately, we couldn't ever get that track position until right there at the end.
Yeah, but it's all about how it ends. Congratulations on a good night. Steve?
Thank you, Dick. With Greg Biffle, and Greg, you had a great car in the All-Star race, and you backed it up again here tonight.
Yeah, it's tough. Casey beat us 2 weeks in a row, but you know, I'm really excited for this team. We've had some tough luck, and we needed this. You know, we needed a good finish for the points, and Darlington hurt us, finished in 43rd, came back, finished second tonight. What a long night. I mean, like Greg Irwin said, nothing is uneventful here. We had so much stuff happen throughout the race, and got the lucky dog, and working on the chassis, working on the car, and the guys did a great job in the pits. The engine ran good. Just came up a little bit short. Wish we'd maybe had another 50 laps or so. 600 miles isn't far enough.
We'll see you at Dover, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to the hotel. Chris Myers and Jeff Hammond.
Thanks, Steve. The unofficial results, Casey Kane is your winner. Hearing from him, he jumped up to 12th in points, which is good news. Dale Earnhardt Jr. winds up 5th, followed by Jeff Burton. Elliott Sadler, a good Eddie run.
Good run after another Gillette Abraham car.
George Gillette, this ain't the Stanley Cup Finals, but he saw him waving a checkered flag.
He was definitely excited.
His Gillette Evernham Dodge in victory lane. As we round out, you know, it's been a year of streak busters. Ryan Newman, 81 race streak snapped. He won at Daytona. Kyle Busch, 34 races without a win. Jeff Burton, 33 races. And then in his 53rd race, Casey Kane picking up the victory. For some final thoughts, let's go back upstairs. Darrell Waltrip, Mike Joy, and Larry McReynolds.
Well, the All-Star race was 4 segments. If you break this race down into 100-mile segments, nobody who won any of the segments was there at the finish. How many wild things happened? Pit stops in the last 10 laps. Almost the entire field stopped. Tony Stewart blows a tire. Denny Hamlin blows a tire. They're both into the fence. Carl Edwards finishes on fume. You want drama? We got drama.
And people always say, why do you run 600 miles? Because we wouldn't have had this kind of ending if we didn't run 600 miles. 500 miles have been boring, but that last 100 miles tightens up. Things really happen. Great night.
Well, I think it goes back to what you said at the top of the show, Darrell. This 600-mile, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for the drivers. It's a challenge for the pit crews. It's a challenge for the calls that the crew chief has to make. And like the graphic says, it almost didn't pay off to be strong in the beginning. It didn't even pay off to be strong with 2 to go because Tony Stewart was on pit road with a flat tire, and Casey Kane gets his first win in almost a year and a half.
Baby was a grind. I got to tell you, we ground her out, though, bud.
Best career finish for David Rudiman and for Sam Hornish. So it's been quite a night at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Now it's on to Dover. Chris?
Thanks, Mike. 37 lead changes, 16 different leaders, and Kyle Busch adds. In fact, it's his biggest point lead he's had so far this year.
Yeah, but the main thing right there, Jeff Burton continues to hang right there in second place, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. remains right there very neatly, as I think you might say, in third, carrying the Hendrick banner.
And the danger zone as we head to Dover, Delaware next weekend on the Monster Mile.
Michael Waltrip barely sneaks by and hangs on that 35th position, but look how close Sam Hornish came to almost basically unseating Michael Waltrip and rolling into the Monster Mile and not having to feel like he has to qualify.
Casey Kane, 28-year-old from Washington State, skipping his prom, right, to becoming a passionate driver over the years, arriving now, getting in the chase. Is he someone we should watch for the championship run?
Well, I mean, he's up in 12th right now, and after the last 2 weeks, you've got to believe that something magical has happened up there at Gillette Evernham. For whatever reason, you know, he wins the All-Star race by the fan vote, comes here, backs it up with a win, and the longest race of the season. So you got to believe they're doing something right.
It was a terrific weekend for racing, and next weekend we will be in Dover, Delaware. Martin Truex Jr. won the race last year there. We'll also be at the Drive for Autism, autismspeaks.org. That's at the DuPont Country Club there in Delaware as well. Remember, last year that's where Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart got into it. On this Memorial Day weekend, our thoughts are with all the friends and family of those who have saved and sacrificed for our country. Well, I want to thank Humpy Wheeler for 33 great years. Don't forget Saturday, MLB on Fox. Digger does baseball. Birthday wishes this week go out to our pit reporters, Krista Voda, Dick Berggren. Krista turns 21, Berggren 101. I kid, I care. For Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, enjoy the rest of your holiday. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. Casey Kane, your winner tonight.